Chapter 852. When Lin Muyu opened her eyes, her surroundings were still in chaos. Dust filled the air, and the sound of hooves shook the entire Luo River estuary. However, it was already close to dusk, which proved that the battle had lasted for an entire day. The surroundings were filled with blood and the burnt smell of the magic crystal cannons. From afar, the purple Yinhua flag fluttered amidst the smoke. There were also the flags of the nation-guarding army, the Longdan army camp, the Imperial Army, and the Divine Might Battalion. It was clear that the Empire had won this battle. Xiaoxi. He raised his head to look at Tang Xiaoxi and found that his head was resting on her snow-white legs. His body was shaking slightly. The two of them were in the chariot, and the person driving the horse was Wei Chou. Only he and Tang Xiaoxi had the face to drive the horse. "You're awake." Tang Xiaoxi smiled. "Great, great. I remember seeing Su Hao. This subordinate is here, successor." Su Hao floated down. He had been flying in the air to protect Lin Muyu. "You're finally here." Lin Muyu used the spirit pulse technique to see that Su Hao had already stepped into the God King realm. She smiled. "Not bad. Even you, Su Hao, have stepped into the 30th heaven realm." Su Hao smiled. "In order to protect the heavenly tome monolith forest, we hid our identities in the White Leaves Forest and purposely did not ascend. After 10,000 years of preparation, we naturally succeeded. Successor, how's your body?" "I'm fine." Lin Muyu moved her arm. She felt that the sovereign matrix in her EC was madly absorbing the surrounding spiritual energy to replenish her divine power. Her Qi was also surging with divine power. This was good news. The temporary loss of divine power caused by the demon heart arrow had passed. "How are you now?" He raised his head, but all he could see were two peaks wrapped in clouds. After Tang Xiaoxi had stepped into the God King realm, her figure had become even better. Lin Muyu said, "Xiaoxi, you're blocking my view." Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. She suddenly realized what he was referring to, and her pretty face instantly flushed red. She said, "Scoundrel, you've just woken up and you're already making fun of me." "I didn't, it's true. Help me up, I want to see the battlefield." "Are you really okay? How about I help you fly and look down at the battlefield?" That's even better." Thus, Tang Xiaoxi supported Lin Muyu's arm and let his right arm wrap around her neck. Then, she activated her divine power and slowly flew up, bringing Lin Muyu into the air. They felt the night breeze. The weather in Lingdong province was not considered mild. The night breeze was like a storm, causing their cloaks to flutter. Inside the battlefield, there were clouds of smoke and corpses everywhere. Near the steel wall, corpses were piled up like mountains. Almost every pile of corpses contained at least 1,000 people. There were dozens of such piles of corpses. Together with the corpses in the Luo River estuary that had not been cleaned up, the number of people who died in this battle was definitely more than 200,000. In the distance, in the north of the Luo River estuary, in the territory of Tongtian province, the sound of killing was still echoing on the ground. Rows of Qin Empire's cavalry were chasing the defeated troops of Tianji Empire. Their banners were fluttering all over the mountains and plains. "Something's wrong." Lin Muyu furrowed her brows. "What's wrong?" Tang Xiaoxi asked. "Gong Shangming is cautious in using his troops. He shouldn't have been so unprepared after such a setback. Even if the Longdan army camp burned their provisions, they shouldn't have been so defeated, right? They retreated in an orderly manner. This is the combat quality that a commander should have. Even if the Tianji Empire suffered heavy losses, it shouldn't be so miserable, right?" "You mean it's a trap?" "Yes. Who was the one who commanded the Tianji Empire to attack the steel wall before?" After Gong Shangming lost the first battle, Bai Minghuan changed his general at the last minute and ordered Zhou Xinyao to command today's battle. Now it seems that Zhou Xinyao's position as the chief strategist will be lost. "Zhou Xinyao." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "I've seen this man in Winterfrost City. He is courageous, but he shows off his abilities. He should be the kind of person who is resourceful but not good at scheming. Bai Minghuan must be blind to command this battle with Zhou Xinyao." Tang Xiaoxi chuckled and said, otherwise, I'm afraid the steel wall would no longer belong to the Qin Empire. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and looked at the ground. She said, Wei Chou, immediately send out a letter and order the troops who have chased to the north to withdraw immediately. Don't chase a desperate enemy. Yes, Your Highness. I hope it's not too late. Mu, are you so sure that Gong Shangming will set up an ambush in the north? I'm not sure, but there's at least a 50% chance that he will. Lin Muyu smiled lightly and said, war is a kind of game. How can you be sure? You can only guess what the opponent is thinking. If you can always guess correctly, then you're a famous general. Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said, you're right. Su Hao said respectfully, successor, your injuries have not healed yet. Why don't we go back to the steel wall and rest well? Miss Chu Yao's medical skills are superb, and she can diagnose and treat your injuries again. Lin Muyu nodded. The war in the north was not something he could control anymore. The only thing he could do now was to wait for the situation to develop. Wei Chou and the 10,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp were left to wait outside the Luo River estuary. The others all went back to the steel wall to rest. No one knew when the next battle would be. Late at night, news kept coming. The troops under Feng Jixing, Zhen Yifan, Zhen Fang and Su'er had all returned one after another. Only the 30,000 imperial guards led by Zhang Wei had not returned. It was not until late at night that Zhang Wei returned. He was covered in blood and knelt down the moment he entered the meeting hall. What's wrong? Feng Jixing said lightly, didn't I tell you to withdraw immediately after sunset? Zhang Wei's face was pale and his whole body was trembling. Old Zhang, tell me clearly. How many troops did we lose? Lin Muyu asked. Less than 5,000 came back. What? Feng Jixing was infuriated. He slammed the table and stood up, bellowing furiously, men, drag this useless Zhang Wei out and behead him. Zhang Wei wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. Tears flowed from his eyes as he cried out, I, Zhang Wei, am convinced that Your Highness has beheaded me. I'm willing to die to pay for the lives of over 20,000 brothers. It's just that we were ambushed in the green-yellow forest and our brothers died too tragically. Zhang Wei only hopes that after I die, His Highness you and Prince Exen can lead the 3 armies to avenge my 20,000 brothers who died in vain, recover our lost land, and take back the Heavenspan province from the hands of the bandits, drag him out and behead him. Feng Jixing was really infuriated. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. How many resources were needed to nurture 25,000 imperial guards? Wait a minute. Lin Muyu said softly, Brother Feng, don't be angry first. Wait for me to find out the reason. Wei Chou speak. Wei Chou knelt down on one knee and said, Your Highness, when I led 10,000 brothers from the Longdan army camp to provide support, I saw the green-yellow forest in flames. The Tianji Empire burned the entire green-yellow forest, and many of our brothers from the Imperial Guards were burned alive. However, Lord Zhang Wei led the troops to charge back and forth and fought valiantly. Without his command, we probably wouldn't have been able to break out of the encirclement. Moreover, the 25,000 Imperial Guards didn't die in vain. Before they died, they fought bravely and killed at least over 10,000 bandits. Is that so, Zhang Wei? Zhang Wei? Lin Muyu asked. Yes. Zhang Wei gritted his teeth and said, But I don't beg for Your Highness you to forgive me. Zhang Wei only wishes for death. I don't have the face to continue living in this world. Fine, drag him out and behead him, Feng Jixing said angrily. Brother Feng. Lin Muyu interceded, the Imperial Guards were almost wiped out in this battle, and there's a need to recruit new soldiers and reorganize them. This won't do if there's no one to train new soldiers for you. Why don't we let Zhang Wei make up for his mistakes with his meritorious deeds? Strip him of his position and just give him the position of a 10-man squad leader. After we recruit new soldiers, we'll let him train them. If he can't train the new soldiers well, it'll be too late to behead him then. After saying that, Lin Muyu threw a glance. Immediately, Wei Chou, Sidu Sen, Luo Yu, Feng Shi, Zhen Fang, and the other generals all knelt down and said loudly, "Your Highness, please forgive Zhang Wei." Qin Yan also said, "That's right. Your Highness, please forgive him this time. After all, Zhang Wei has also killed quite a number of bandits." After suffering such losses, the strength of the Tianji Empire's bandits will be greatly reduced, and they won't be able to continue attacking the steel protective wall. Feng Jixing's countenance was grim as he said calmly, "He can be spared from death, but he can't escape punishment. Men, send Zhang Wei to prison. Lock him up for 3 days and 3 nights. Don't even allow him to eat or drink." In fact, Feng Jixing could not bear to kill Zhang Wei either. This time around, if it wasn't for the fact that he had given Zhang Wei the authority to lead the troops due to his lack of consideration, they wouldn't have suffered such a defeat. However, the Imperial Guards had suffered a crushing defeat in the battle with the Flowing Mist Army, and the soldiers' deaths weren't in vain. The entire meeting hall fell silent. Not long later, someone from the Ministry of War's Minister Manor came. It was a young assistant minister who held a scroll of paper in his hand. He said, "Your Highnesses, the statistics are out." "Speak, the overall report," Lin Muyu said. "Yes." He opened up the scroll and said respectfully, "This time, there were a total of 370,000 soldiers from the Spirit Demon Army, Longdan Army Camp, Imperial Guards, Zither Dragon Army, Godmight Battalion, and Prefectural Garrison Army. There were a total of 370,000 soldiers that participated in the battle. There were 134,000 soldiers that died, 76,000 were heavily injured, and over 30% of them were permanently unable to participate in the battle. There were 110,000 soldiers that suffered light injuries, and the losses of our resources were severe. We still have 30,000 magic crystal cannons, but there are less than 8,000 usable magic crystal crossbows. Other than that, we have calculated the losses of the enemy based on the battlefield." Feng Jixing was startled. "Speak." "On the battlefield, we collected a total of 63,542 corpses. The number of corpses that were destroyed by the magic crystal cannons and magic crystal crossbows numbered around 20,000. Adding on the corpses that were found after entering the northern region, we estimate that to be around 50,000 corpses. Thus, we have killed a total of 130,000 soldiers." 130,000. Feng Jixing could not help but laugh bitterly. "I initially thought that it would be a huge victory, but who knew that? It was only about the same. At least, they will not be able to spy on Lingdong province for a short period of time." "That's true." At this moment, a messenger suddenly rushed in from outside the residence and said anxiously, "A message from 8 Wastelands says that 8 Wastelands has fallen. The Tianji Empire's 150,000 Longji army seized all the territories in 8 Wastelands overnight. Their military strength is already approaching the northern fortress of Yunzhong province." "What?" Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing stood up together. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Chapter 853. At the north ridge of Yanming Mountain, the bright moon hung high in the sky, spreading a layer of white frost on the ground. At the foot of the mountain, torches gathered in a long line. The faint sound of horses' hooves and the roar of machines could be heard. It was an army of no less than 10,000 people. Above a red maple on the mountain ridge, a beautiful girl quietly looked at everything at the foot of the mountain. A trace of displeasure and anger flashed in her eyes. "That's Xin's army." Luo Fei sneered and said, "She really brought a 10,000-strong army to the Shattered Cauldron realm. Does Xin really think that she can accomplish anything by relying on those filthy exiles and old machines?" Dory was silent. Dora frowned. "I just want to know what Xin wants to do. The Lord Ruler sent us to help the Celestial Pole continent seize the territory of the Shattered Cauldron realm, but she brought 10,000 Banished Lands army and hasn't done anything yet. Now, she sent this army to Yanming Mountain. What does she want to do? Who is her opponent?" Luo Fei said, "Dora, maybe Xin doesn't want to return to the God realm at all. She just wants to be a king in the mortal world, just like she did in the Banished Lands. She used the Lord Ruler and used his hand to raise her cultivation. Then she came to the rich shattered cauldron realm. She wants to be a king in the mortal world. Really? Dora sneered. I don't think so. At this moment, the sound of huge dragons' flapping wings came from afar. Dragon knights had arrived, and two of them came one after the other. It's Ramjin, Luo Fei said. Ramjin was a dragon knight that Dora had borrowed from Dark North Abyss. She hadn't used him yet. It's not just Ramjin. Dora's senses were even sharper. She squinted her beautiful eyes and said, There's an unfamiliar aura. Strangers are here. Indeed, in the night, two dragon knights jumped down from the dragon's back, floated to the ground, and knelt respectfully. Apart from Ramjin, there was also a dragon knight in blue armor. He seemed to be around the 10th level Grotto Heaven realm, not too strong. Subordinate Ramjin greets Lord Dora. Subordinate Lu Pei greets Lord Dora. Dora smiled faintly. No need for formalities. Lu Pei, where did you come from? I've traveled day and night from the 8 wastelands in the north under the command of Lord Dragon Rider General Lin Tongtian and Commander Feng Lan of the Long Ji Corps. The Long Ji Corps has gathered 150,000 soldiers and seized the 8 wastelands. The 8 wastelands province that the Qin Empire has just divided is already under the control of the Tianji Empire. This time, the two lords have sent me to invite Lord Dora to fight the enemy side by side with us and attack the Cloud Province together. Cloud Province? Dora was stunned. Lu Pei said in a low voice, The Yunzhong province of the Qin Empire is very fertile. It is known as one of the 2 largest provinces in the northern region of the empire. It has a large population and many cities. However, the garrison is also very powerful. Luo Exin, the adopted son of the former Duke of Muyun, Su Muyun, is leading 200,000 steel blade soldiers to defend the province. They have a lot of magic crystal cannons and all kinds of advanced crossbows and ballistae. Lord Feng Lan said that if we want to fight a tough battle, we still need the strength of the battle angels of the celestial realm. Okay, I got it. Dora, are you really going to attack the Yunzhong province? Luo Fei was stunned. What else? Dora laughed coldly. Are we going to stay on Yanming Mountain and watch Xin do nothing? Since Xin no longer recognizes the 3 of us as members of the Battle Angel Squad, then we will continue to complete the mission that the Western Divine Realm has given us. Helping the Tianji Empire conquer the Yunzhong province is also our duty. Yes, I understand. Lu Pei was overjoyed. Lord Dora has decided to help us? Of course. Dora smiled. Lord Gong Yangjin, gather all the dragon knights immediately. We will set off immediately. The sooner we conquer the Yunzhong province, the better. We will fly through the night and try to reach the Yunzhong province by dawn tomorrow. Yes. Dora floated in the wind. Her beautiful eyes looked toward the south mountains of Yanming Mountain. Her eyes were filled with jealousy and anger. She said softly, Xin, since you are so desperate to protect everything in the Shattered Cauldron realm, then I will help you. If I don't kill a few of the Qin Empire's famous generals, how can I be worthy of you, the golden-winged battle angel who was in the same class as me? As she spoke, the black wings behind her suddenly spread open. They were filled with murderous intent. After receiving the inheritance of the black wings, the desire to kill in Dora's heart seemed to have been completely ignited. Killing could make her stronger, and it could also make her feel satisfied. On a small path in the forest, torches connected together, illuminating the armors of the soldiers. At the forefront of the cavalry was a general dressed in a golden robe. It was none other than Ding Shi, the person appointed by Xin to be the commander of the army of the exiles. Looking at everything around him, it was familiar yet strange. Along the way, they saw nothing but carnage and devastation. The once prosperous and powerful Sky Province no longer existed. All they could see were broken fences and dilapidated walls, as well as commoners who had lost their homes along the way. There were even many hunting squads from the Blackstone Empire hunting down commoners everywhere and turning them into slaves. The Blackstone Empire was known for its cruelty and tyranny. Their army had a tradition that the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire did not have: cannibalism. Whenever there was a food crisis, The Blackstone Empire's army would kill the captives and use them as food. This tradition had been going on for thousands of years and had not changed at all. In the distance, the army of exiles passed by a forest, and the army of the Darkstone Empire was cooking there. The food was actually some hunters that they just captured, and after they killed them, they placed their limbs on the campfire to roast. The soldiers' laughter was extremely delighted as if they were celebrating a festival. However, these soldiers from the Blackstone Empire did not make things difficult for Ding Shi and the others. After all, they were holding the flag of the Battle Angel Squad and had the token of the Tianji Empire. At least for now, the Tianji Empire and the Blackstone Empire were allies. Cough, cough, cough. Ding Shi coughed violently. He could not bear to look at everything in the forest. Back then, this land belonged to the Iha Kingdom, and these commoners were the people of the Iha Kingdom. Ding Shi could not bear to see them suffer such a calamity, but he was powerless. If it were not for the repeated defeats, how could the commoners have fallen to such a state? Thinking of this, Ding Shi could not help but feel bitter in his heart. He muttered, "Commander Long, oh Commander Long, if it weren't for our incompetence, how could the commoners have suffered such a calamity?" At the side, Ding Sanging said softly, "Commander Ding, don't blame yourself. Everything is in the past. Now that we are following Lord Xin from the Battle Angel Squad, we should not be bullied anymore." "Do you only think about not being bullied?" Ding Shi said indifferently, "Saint, do you think? Is Xin really Her Highness Yin? Is it important whether she is or not?" Ding Sanging said, "No, it is too important." A glint flashed in Ding Shi's eyes as he said, "Commander Qin Yi has already abandoned us. Now, it is Lord Xin who has saved Dragon-Shaped Island and the millions of people on Dragon-Shaped Island. If she is really Qin Yin, then she is the return of the king and the rightful successor of the great Qin Empire. Only with the return of Qin Yin can the people of the Shattered Cauldron realm unite as one and get rid of the Eastern barbarians. If this cannot be done, I'm afraid that the Shattered Cauldron realm will really become a land of slavery for others. If the Blackstone Empire is like this, then how can the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire be any better? This is a catastrophe for the common people." Ding Sanging smiled and said, "Marshal, don't think so much. Lord Xin doesn't even admit that she is Qin Yin. Perhaps she is not. After all, Qin Yin is the ruler of the great Qin Empire. As for Xin, look, Xin's weapon of battle is a pair of eyes that belong to a god and not the orthodox god-binding chains of the great Qin Empire. Isn't that right?" "Yes, Xin can't condense the god-binding chains. Perhaps she really is not." Ding Shi looked at the road under the horse's hooves with some disappointment. "I wonder why Lord Xin called us to the Shattered Cauldron realm this time. Is it for war? The Banished One Legion is used to conquer, so naturally, it's for war. Otherwise, would we be here for sightseeing? I heard that the Blackstone Empire's main force was defeated by Su Jiantao in Sangnan province with 50,000 troops. I really didn't expect Governor Sangnan Su Jiantao to have this kind of ability. I didn't see it when our Iha nation was fighting the empire. Su Jiantao has followed Lin Muyu for a long time, so he naturally learned a lot about the art of war." Ding Shi's eyes lit up. With Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing around, perhaps great things can be expected. However, the two of them are not members of the Qin family, so the feudal vassals can't be loyal to them. The three kings have ruled for so many years, but they are not as united as the Radiant King. And the Radiant King? If it wasn't for Qin Jin's stubbornness, he probably wouldn't have been killed by the commander-in-chief at Fairy Lake. "Ha!" Ding Shi laughed self-deprecatingly. "Now that you mention it, I feel that I have done so many things all these years. Am I really suspected of being an accomplice to a villain?" Ding San was even more startled. "Marshal, why do you say that? Could it be that, when the commander-in-chief killed Qin Jin, wasn't it to rid the world of evil? Is that so?" Ding Shi's lips curled into a meaningful smile as he said, "A throne has caused 10 years of strife, 10 years of calamity for all living beings in the world. If this is considered to be getting rid of evil for the people, forget it." He paused, then continued, "Let's not talk about this. You and I stayed on dragon-shaped island to protect the commander-in-chief, so we can be considered people who have died once. Now that we have repaid the commander-in-chief's kindness, we should be in control of our own lives from now on." As he spoke, Ding Shi looked at the iron pipe in the hand of a leader-level exile and asked, "Brother, what's the name of that weapon in your hand?" The leader bared his yellow teeth and smiled. "It's a magnetic cannon, but the battery is about to run out. After that, I won't be able to use it again. Otherwise, I would definitely show the commander-in-chief how powerful this fellow is. Even the sour rotting boars in the banished lands can be blown to pieces with one shot." Ding Shi's face twitched. "Then it's better not to see it. Order the army to speed up and head to Yanming Mountain as soon as possible." "Yes." Chapter 854. In the South Ridge camp of Yanming Mountain, the white tent trembled gently in the evening wind. "Lord Xin, Commander Ding Shi is here." Outside, a guard said in a low voice. It was warm and cozy inside the tent. Xian sat quietly at the table as the candlelight flickered, illuminating a parchment map on the table. The map was a detailed map of the major provinces of Lingnan. "Let him come in." The curtain door was lifted. Ding Shi came in with Ding Sanging and 2 other lord-level exiles. He knelt down respectfully and performed the etiquette of the Qin Empire. He said, "General Ding Shi greets Lord Xin. No need to be so polite. Get up and take a seat." "Yes." After Ding Shi sat down, he glanced around and found that Terralin, Lake, Zhou Shimin, and the other battle angels were also there. It seemed like these angels didn't sleep or rest in the middle of the night. Furthermore, this group of battle angels were very young. The combination of handsome men and beautiful women really didn't fit in with the group of ugly exiles and battle-hardened soldiers that he was leading. "I have brought the 10,000 exiles and 10,000 original troops of the Tianji Empire. In addition, I have also reorganized and expanded 5,000 original elite soldiers of the dragon-shaped island. They are at Lord Xin's command at any time." "Commander, you have worked hard." Xin smiled slightly. "In the future, there is no need to be so troublesome. Please reorganize this army and directly name it the Xin Army." "Yes, I will." "Commander Ding Shi, come forward and look at the map." "Yes." Ding Shi knelt forward and glanced at the map with the candlelight. He knew that it was the map of Lingnan. Then he almost didn't need to look at anything. He had been the marshal of Iha country for 10 years and had long known the terrain of Lingnan. He even exaggerated to the point that he knew every grass, every tree, every mountain, and every river. This was his home and once his world. "Commander, you only need to take a look?" Xin closed his eyes and asked in surprise. Ding Shi smiled. "No need. I can draw this map by hand." "That's good." Xian said. The Darkstone Empire's Fu Yu led the Ashen Flame army to be defeated in Dark South Province, and they've already rested for many days. Now, they're accumulating strength and waiting to attack. I presume Fu Yu is definitely unwilling to accept this defeat. "Commander, where do you think he'll attack next?" Ding Shi pondered for a moment and smiled. The Qin Mountains are very sturdy and controlled by the Qin Empire. It will be difficult for Fu Yu to gain any advantage there. As long as Fu Yu and Marshal Bailey Qin are not stupid, they will definitely choose another route of attack. There are 2 roads to the west of Lingnan Province. One is the road to Lingnan Province, but they must pass through the Dragon-Slaying Pass on the Baimeng Mountain. This Dragon-Slaying Pass is very sturdy. I have already sent people to investigate and found out that it is currently guarded by Su Jiantao and 70,000 soldiers. The other road to the west is the official road to Mingshan Province, but they also need to pass through a pass on the Baimeng Mountain. This pass is called the Divine Heaven Pass and is guarded by the Mingshan Province's army. Currently, the army of Mingshan Province is guarded by Xiang Yu, the descendant of Xiang Wentian. If I'm not wrong, Fu Yu will choose to attack the Divine Heaven Pass and fight it out with Xiang Yu. Why? Because Fu Yu is already very afraid of Su Jiantao. He suffered a huge defeat in the hands of Su Jiantao. As the saying goes, once bitten, twice shy. However, Fu Yu does not know of Xiang Yu's prowess, so he will definitely attack the Divine Heaven Pass that Xiang Yu is guarding. Yes. Xin smiled. Commander is indeed perceptive, worthy of being a famous general. You are too kind, Lord. I am just a defeated general. Ding Shi was silent for a few seconds before he asked, Lord Xin, you have asked me so many questions. What is your plan? Also, you have ordered the 25,000 soldiers of the Xin Corps to be gathered at the Yanming Mountain. What are your intentions? Lord Commander must have witnessed the brutality of the Blackstone Empire's army. Yes. Xin smiled and said, the ruler ordered me to help the celestial pole continent seize the Shattered Cauldron realm, but not in this way. The Shattered Cauldron realm will also be a citizen of the celestial pole continent in the future. I must stop the Blackstone Empire from continuing their slaughter. Therefore, I have decided that instead of letting Fuyu seize the city, it is better for us to seize the city ourselves. We will rely on the Xin Corps to attack the Divine Heaven Pass before Fuyu, then we will march straight in and conquer the entire Mingshan province. Along the way, we must not offend the people. With the Mingshan province in our hands, we will not have to suffer the brutality of the Blackstone Empire. Ding Shi's eyes completely lit up. Really? Yes, I will not lie to you. Ding Shi took a step back and knelt on one knee. He put his fists on the ground and said, as long as Lord Xin gives the order, I will go through fire and water without hesitation. I have no other requests. Commander Ding Shi, you will command this battle. All the troops, battle angels, including me, will listen to your orders. The only thing I want you to do is to seize the Divine Heaven Pass at the lowest cost. Yes, I understand. The next day, the war drums rumbled. The 20,000 soldiers of the Xin Corps left the Yanming Mountain and went straight to the Divine Heaven Pass. In the afternoon, the cavalry had already set up camp 5 miles away from the Divine Heaven Pass. In the evening, the 25,000 soldiers had already gathered. Banners fluttered in the air as if the entire mountain was filled with the Xin Corps. Ding Sanging and the other generals bought food from all over the place. However, they couldn't last too long, or else they would be defeated. After nightfall, the forest was quiet. A few figures appeared on the low slope. They were Ding Shi, Xin, Terralin, and the others. Lord, please take a look. Ding Shi pointed at the pass in the distance and said, the Divine Heaven Pass is very sturdy. It is made of huge rocks from the deep mountains. The wall is 25 meters high, ordinary siege towers and catapults can't reach it. There are 24 watchtowers on the wall, and each watchtower can accommodate 50 archers. If all of them are deployed, I'm afraid it will be a nightmare for us. Lord, as you can see, there are nearly 50 magic crystal cannons on the wall. If all of them are fired, the Xin Corps will become history in at most half a day. Xin didn't open her eyes. She could sense everything with her spirit sense. She just smiled and said, I saw all of this. But Commander, you are now the commander of the 3 armies. You can make all the decisions. I just want a result. All right. Ding Shi pondered and said, I have a feasible method, but I need Lord's cooperation. Speak. Lord, please take a look there. Ding Shi pointed to the distance and said, there is a watchtower at the center of the city. It is 50 meters tall and can see everything in our army. I believe that Xiang Yu in the Heavenly Fortress should already know about our military strength. In another 2 hours, when the sky is completely dark, my lord, please lead 6 members of the Battle Angel team to attack this watchtower. But it is best not to kill anyone, just show the strength of the Battle Angels. The best situation is to see Xiang Yu. After my lord shows the power of the flaming eyes to Xiang Yu, immediately lead the Battle Angel team back. In this way, I will personally go to the Heavenly Fortress tomorrow morning. Perhaps, we can take down the Heavenly Fortress without any bloodshed. Really? Xin was excited. There is no joking in the army. All right, I will listen to you. Thank you, Lord. After nightfall, countless torches were lit on the Heavenly Fortress, and even the braziers were lit. Archers stood in great numbers on the walls as if they were facing a great enemy. Everyone knew that an army had arrived, although they still didn't know the origin of this army. Greetings, Duke Yu. When Xiang Yu walked on the wall in his military uniform, a group of soldiers knelt down and saluted. Xiangyu didn't say anything, but his face was ashen. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing after rushing back to Bright Mountain Province. Unfortunately, most of his 70,000 men were still on the way back, and he only brought 5,000 cavalrymen with him. The defense force of the entire Divine Heaven Pass was less than 20,000. Have you figured out who the enemy is? Xiangyu asked coldly. I don't know. A 10,000-man commander said in a trembling voice. It was as though they had descended from the sky. That flag was also something we've never seen before. According to our military advisor's understanding, there's no such flag in the celestial pole continent. This army does not belong to the three empires. Humph, outrageous. Xiangyu shouted, prepare the magic crystal cannons and boulders. Don't let them get close to the wall. No matter who they are, invading our Bright Mountain Province is tantamount to courting death. All archers are to be on the watchtower. No one is to slack off. Otherwise, they will be dealt with according to military law. Follow me to the watchtower and see who these people are. They are actually so arrogant to set up camp 5 miles away. Yes, Duke. A group of people went up the watchtower. There were also many archers and shield-wielding guards on the watchtower. Xiangyu was one of the 4 dukes of the empire after all. His status was too honorable. Just as everyone stabilized themselves, a sharp-eyed soldier suddenly pointed into the distance. There seems to be something flying over in the night sky. What? Xiangyu squinted his eyes. Someone was indeed coming. No, it should be a god. Waves of god power rippled in the air, making people feel reverence. They didn't come with good intentions. Furthermore, they were extraordinarily strong. Fire arrows. Yes. Countless fire arrows flew into the sky, but they couldn't reach the incoming person. It was already not bad if an ordinary fire arrow could shoot 20 meters high. Under the illumination of the light, a total of 7 figures came over with the wind. They were all wearing strange clothes and didn't look like people from Shattered Cauldron Realm. Be careful. Xiangyu raised the bloodthirsty spear and said, pass down the order, prepare for battle. Aim the muzzles of the magic crystal cannons far away. Immediately blast them to pieces within 300 meters. In less than 5 seconds, the sound of cannons rang out. Fiery red magic crystal cannons fell into the sky like meteors. However, the people in the sky didn't seem to panic. When the magic crystal cannons flew around, they immediately collided with an invisible barrier. It was a wall of light. In the blink of an eye, all the magic crystal cannons exploded. However, the other party continued to fly forward covered in smoke. But, Terralin grumbled, the explosion ruined my makeup. Lake was speechless. It's already good that they didn't die. Get ready. Zhou Shimin, let's each take one side and cut off the 2 wings of the watchtower. How about it? The 2 turned into streams of light and flew over. Swoosh swoosh. 2 sword energies fell and directly cut off the 2 wings of the watchtower. That was a fortification built with giant rocks. Bastard, Xiangyu saw it clearly, but he also felt a chill in his heart. The incoming party was many times more tyrannical than he had imagined. Moreover, there were 7 of them at once. What should he do? However, apart from himself, who else here could fight against this group of mysterious experts with wings on their backs? Roar! With a shout, Xiangyu's body burst into flames. The bloodthirsty spear soared into the sky with the majestic power of the Chaos 9 strikes and went straight for Terralin, who was flying in front of him. Chapter 855. Don't hurt him. Sheen's voice came from the wind. Terralin smiled and unsheathed the exquisite sword hanging at her waist. Light divine power burst out from the blade and soared into the sky. Holding the sword with both hands, she heavily slashed at Xiangyu's 7th move of the chaotic 9 strikes, Heavenly Reincarnation. Bang! The power of light seemed to transform into a sharp sword and easily cut Xiangyu's fire divine power in half. The disparity in strength was almost not something that could be made up for by any skill. With just 1 strike, Xiangyu's strongest move had been broken. Clang! The blade fell on the spear handle, and a total of 45 waves of divinity hit Xiangyu so hard that he almost vomited blood. He forcefully clenched his teeth and endured it, but his body bounced back to the watchtower like a cannonball. Pa! A shockwave spread out. He had to rely on the ground to neutralize Terralin's tyrannical attack. Are you all right? The group of generals was dumbfounded. No one expected that Xiangyu, who was known as the descendant of the god of war, could not even take a single blow from his opponent. Xiangyu was also one of the few people in the empire. Xiangyu raised his head and looked at Terralin in the wind. He never thought that such a young girl would have such power. The light wings behind her gently flapped, as if they were a blessing of power. It was very mysterious. How could he swallow this? After recovering a little, Xiangyu shot out like lightning again. The bloodthirsty spear danced wildly and pierced the sky like a dragon. But at this moment, a voice sounded, "Terralin, retreat." Xin had arrived. Xiangyu's eyes widened. He saw a familiar figure. Was that Qinin? But it didn't seem like it either. A pair of golden wings of light was slowly unfurling behind her. Her eyes were closed, and tiny golden flames danced around her eyelashes. Her eyelids twitched slightly, as if she would open her eyes at any moment. But Xiangyu was dumbfounded. However, at this moment, the eyes of the blazing dawn opened. What kind of eyes were they? Even the fiend god eyes paled in comparison. The majesty of the world instantly gathered together, pressing down on Xiangyu and the group of people behind him so hard that they could barely open their eyes and look at them. Many generals had even knelt down one after another, unable to endure this scorching aura and blazing light. The words that Xiangyu wanted to say were forcibly swallowed back. His face was full of shock as he landed on the observation deck. He stood there dumbfounded, unable to say a word. The eyes of blazing dawn only opened for a few seconds before closing. Xin said lightly, "Let's go." A few figures disappeared into the night. That night, the Xin army did not attack. How is this possible? How is this possible? In the meeting hall of the Divine Heaven Fortress, Xiangyu sat there with a frown, constantly repeating the same words. "Master Yu, what's going on?" A captaincy asked. "Didn't you see her?" "Who are you referring to?" Everyone was stunned. "Empress. It's Her Highness. She has come back to life." Xiangyu was so excited that his whole body was trembling. "That's impossible. Isn't it said that Her Highness is already dead?" A Chiliarch asked cautiously. "No, Her Highness is not dead," Xiangyu said in an indisputable manner. At this moment, another person at the table said, "That's right, Master Yu is right. I saw her just now. She is indeed Her Highness Qin. Her voice and smile are exactly the same as 6 years ago. I have also seen her before and recognize her." The person who spoke was the governor of Yu City, an old official who had once met the Empress. "That's right, Governor Wang is right. She is Her Highness." Xiangyu frowned and said, "What I don't understand is why Her Highness became like this. Did she become an angel of the Western divine realm? Also, what's with those soul-stirring eyes?" The governor said, "Master Yu, since Her Highness has reincarnated after death, she must have experienced many things. Now that she is leading tens of thousands of troops to the city, I think she must have something to express." "No, prepare a horse. I want to go out and see her." Xiangyu stood up abruptly. "Please don't. Master Yu, you are a priceless person. You still can't confirm that she is Her Highness Yin. What will happen to the Divine Heaven Pass if you go there rashly? Don't worry, since she is here, there will be news tomorrow morning. We just have to wait and see." This. Xiangyu was silent. Captain C, who was at the side, said, "If Her Highness has really come back to life, this news will be enough to inspire the people of the Empire. Should we immediately send a letter to the 3 princes in the capital?" "No need," Xiangyu said indifferently. "For the time being, there is no confirmed news, so no one can casually spread the news. Besides, I hope that this news will stop here in this meeting hall today. Whoever dares to spread the news, be careful of their heads." A chill permeated the surroundings, and everyone fell silent at the same time. The governor of the city of Yu smiled and didn't say anything. He knew very well that Xiangyu had followed the empress's orders to go to Bailing City and use the Iha nation to get rid of Tanglon, the thorn in her side. Xiangyu had done a lot of work for the empress, but from another perspective, the person that Qin Yin valued the most was her lover, Lin Muyu. Therefore, this news couldn't be leaked to Lin Muyu first. Before Lin Muyu appeared, Xiangyu had to give her all the credit he could. Otherwise, he would lose the initiative. That night, Xiangyu couldn't sleep. When the rooster crowed, a guard's voice came from outside. "Master Yu, there is an envoy from outside the pass. He claims to be the commander of the Xin Legion, Ding Shi." Ding Shi? Xiangyu was stunned. Didn't Ding Shi die on the dragon-shaped island with Long Qianlin? Why is he outside the pass? What is the Xin Legion? Could it be? Xiangyu's thoughts were in a mess, and he stopped thinking about it. After putting on his cloak, he said, "Men, prepare a horse. I will personally go out to welcome Ding Shi." Early in the morning, the fog pervaded the city pass. Xiangyu led many cavalrymen out of the fog and went out of the city through the iron gate under the pass. Sure enough, there was one person standing in the thick fog outside the city, and only one person. Who else could it be but Ding Shi? It is indeed Marshal Ding Shi. Xiangyu cupped his fists and smiled. It has been a long time. I wonder whose envoy Marshal Ding Shi is now. Back then, Marshal Ding was the captaincy of my empire's Swift White Province garrison. Later, he followed Qin Yi, but now he is the commander of some Xin Legion. TSK, the marshal wears 3 surnames on his head. How admirable! Ding Shi's expression was calm, as if he couldn't hear Xiangyu's sarcasm. Does General Xiangyu still remember the golden-eyed woman from last night? She is called Xin, and the army under her command is called the Xin Legion. Now, I am the commander of the Xin Legion, serving Lord Xin. Are you satisfied with this answer? What? She is Xin? Xiangyu came to a realization and frowned. Ding Shi, what do you mean? What do I mean? Ding Shi sneered. Didn't General Xiangyu just laugh at me for being a slave with 3 surnames? I, Ding Shi, do not acknowledge such words. From beginning to end, I am only loyal to Qin. Qin, could she really be? The answer Xiangyu wanted was already on the verge of coming out. Ding Shi smiled faintly. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. Last night, I saw the number of chimneys in the heavenly fortress. Your army is no more than 20,000 people at most. They can't stop the iron hooves of the Xin Legion. Not to mention, there will be 200,000 Blackstone Empire troops coming from behind us. General Xiangyu is a smart man. Of course, you know what to do. Why didn't Her Highness tell me personally? Xiangyu asked. Her Highness's words are priceless. How can she tell you this so easily? Xiangyu, open the gates at noon and surrender. Hand over all your military power to Lord Xin. Perhaps we can contend against the Blackstone Empire by combining our 2 forces. Otherwise, both Shangyang City and Yu City will become dead cities. Please take care. This is also Lord Xin's wish. Xin, Xiangyu frowned. Xiangyu, what are you still hesitating for? Ding Shi shouted. Do you want to see a calamity befall the common people? Do you want to defy her will? Don't forget whose vassal you are. Xiangyu trembled from Ding Shi's shout. After a few seconds, he raised his head and said, There's no need to wait until noon. Lord Ding Shi, please tell her immediately that Xiangyu is willing to surrender the city. Your army can enter the city at any time. This general will provide shelter, food, and fodder. There are a total of 90,000 troops in Mingshan province, ready to be deployed at any time. Very well. Ding Shi nodded his head with a satisfied smile, spurred his horse forward, patted Xiangyu's arm, and said with a smile, Don't worry, you won't make a loss in this business. After we recover the Central Plains, your status will only be higher than now. Then, thank you, Lord Ding Shi. I'll go back and report. Have Lord Xiangyu prepare a meal and welcome her at noon. Yes, this general will obey. At noon, the sun dispersed the fog, and the Xin army entered the Shengtian Pass in a mighty manner. Xianxia and a group of imperial generals knelt on both sides of the road and shouted in unison, "We kneel to welcome the return of Her Highness the Empress." Riding a fine horse, Xin sensed the people on both sides of the road in astonishment. Finally, she faced Xianxia, closed her eyes, and said, "I've seen you before. You are Xianxia, the Duke of Southern. You may rise. You have an honorable status, so there's no need for you to bow to me." Xianxia was stunned, but when he saw a sly smile on Dingxi's face, he immediately felt that he had fallen into this old fox's trap. Could it be that this girl in front of him wasn't Empress Qinin? But looking at her every frown and smile, they were exactly the same. It was impossible for there to be two people in this world who were so similar. Forget it, since the city was already opened, it was too late to regret. He would just do as he was told. Chapter 856. Did God Emperor Fuxi ask you to pass this to me? Lin Muyu looked at the ancient book in her hands in astonishment. On it were 5 simple and honest words. Shapeless elephant spell. Yes. Scholar Ling Su Hao walked to the edge of the steel wall. The Luo River estuary in the north was lit up by torches. The soldiers were burying the corpses in the Luo River estuary. Otherwise, if the corpses were left to rot, it would cause a plague. Scholar Ling looked at everything that was happening outside calmly. He said softly, "Successor, you are a cultivator with the sovereign persona. The spirits of the world in the 3 realms can only gather 3 sovereign personas at most. You are one of them. The greatest advantage of a person with the sovereign persona is that he can control the divine wheel." That's right. Lin Muyu stood up and nodded with a smile. However, the divine wheel is also somewhat lacking. Scholar Ling smiled. "I know. Every time you use the divine wheel, you will consume a large amount of divine power. You will almost lose your ability to fight, right? How do you know?" "This is what His Majesty Celestial Emperor Fuxi told me. Successor, don't forget that there are 3 people with the sovereign persona. One is you, the other is the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor of East Heaven, and the third is Celestial Emperor Fuxi. These words are also what His Majesty asked me to convey to you." "Okay, go ahead." Lin Muyu began to listen attentively. Scholar Ling put his hands behind his back and looked extremely elegant. He said, "The source of the divine will comes from the purest divine power in the sovereign persona. In essence, it is the power of momentum. This so-called momentum is beyond the 12 laws. It is similar to domains. The momentum of the world, the momentum of the universe, death and rebirth, blooming and falling are all a kind of momentum. The divine wheel is a kind of power that evolves from the forces in the world. It is vigorous and surging. If you use it well, you will definitely be able to forge the invincible 9 cauldrons." As he spoke, Scholar Ling heaved a sigh of relief and said, "I have already seen the art of the shapeless elephant. Even though I cannot cultivate it due to my physique, I know a thing or two about it. The so-called shapeless elephant refers to the Dharma of all the heavens. It is the way to win by force. Cultivating the shapeless elephant can help you use the spirit wheel more effectively." As he spoke, Scholar Ling pointed at the ancient book and smiled. This book came from the heaven beyond heavens, created by the Fuxi heavenly monarch. But in this realm, it's probably just a piece of useless paper to the others, but in the hands of the inheritor, it's a treasure. Lin Muyu flipped open the book. The handwriting inside was very vigorous and powerful. One could see a person's cultivation from their handwriting. Just by looking at the handwriting, one could see that Fuxi's cultivation was indeed one of the best in the world. There was a table of contents written on the old paper. It was also the 5 levels of the invisible elephant spell. 1 elephant earthly white, 10 elephants punishing the heavens, 100 elephants killing the demon, 1,000 elephants destroying the god, and 10 elephants formless. Scholar Ling seemed to see through his doubts. He smiled and said, "The so-called elephant is the manifestation. The first step to cultivating the invisible elephant spell is to break down the divine wheel that the air has and transform it into the elephant wheel, which is slightly weaker but more powerful. Only after cultivating the elephant can you be considered to have completed the first step of the invisible elephant spell. However, this cultivation process is very slow. You cannot rush it. Lin Muyu nodded and said with a serious look, Su Hao, if I successfully cultivate the invisible elephant spell, will my strength also increase greatly? Maybe. Why do you ask? Lin Muyu looked in the direction of the north and said, because there are too many powerful enemies there. If I can't break through to the Divine King realm, I am afraid that I will not be a match for them at all. You also know that Bai Minghuan, the marshal of the Tianji Empire, is a god emperor. I could not even take 3 attacks from him before I was defeated. Scholar Ling smiled and said, don't worry. Don't forget that the invisible elephant spell is Heaven Sovereign Fushi's unique skill. As long as you successfully cultivate it, even if you are only in the Divine King realm, you will be able to challenge that so-called God Emperor Bai Minghuan. But Lin Muyu's heart stirred a little. She said, then I'll prepare to cultivate in seclusion for a few days. You, Wu Tong, and Jing Jian will help me guard the steel wall. We can't let the Tianji Empire's iron hooves take another step south. Yes, Your Highness. Lin Muyu walked down the wall. Wei Chou was guarding under the torch. He said respectfully, Your Highness, General Feng, Ouyang Yen, and Chu have already led 50,000 elite cavalry into the Cangnan province. They will reach the Cloud province in 5 days at most. But we have no cavalry here anymore. Almost all the horses have been taken away by them. It's okay. Lin Muyu waved her hand and said, there will be no more field battles in the Luo River estuary. Pass down my order, replenish the shells of the magic crystal cannons. For now, we only need to guard the steel wall. Wei Chou, I am going to cultivate in seclusion soon. You can discuss the defense in the Luo River estuary with Aunt Lien, Lord Fan, and Xiaoxi. Don't come to me. Yes. Wei Chou looked up and asked, Your Highness, how long are you going to cultivate in seclusion? At most a month, at least half a month. Yes. Lin Muyu chose the basement below the steel wall for his seclusion. Originally, this place was used to store food and weapons. But after this battle, almost all the weapons and food were used up. Instead, these underground secret rooms were empty. Choosing the deepest secret room, Lin Muyu entered the secret room in the afternoon with the invisible elephant technique. Until evening, he sat motionlessly in the secret room. There was not a single ray of light in the surroundings. Only a faint golden light slowly seeped out from his body. The formless elephant chant was profound and difficult to comprehend. Lin Muyu had only scratched the surface of it and started to circulate the divine power in her 8 extraordinary meridians according to the chant. It was as if she had given up on the foundation of martial arts that she had been practicing for many years. The entire set of circulation routes were very unique. Just like that, she completed one cycle after another. There was already a lot of sweat on his face, but he still could not see through it. Until late at night, suddenly, his soul became clear. Waves rose in his Yi. Lin Muyu could not help but be secretly happy. Finally, there was improvement. Deep in his Yi, there was a ray of light, like a huge wheel. It was the divine wheel. But this time, the divine wheel was completely different from before. After Lin Muyu used the invisible elephant technique, the divine wheel instantly transformed into 2, then 4, and more. Very quickly, there were 32 wheel prints. In the Yi, the wheel prints intertwined with each other, as if they were natural, forming a huge wheel print tower. Lin Muyu was so excited that his whole body was trembling. This wheel print tower slowly rotated in his Yi, as if it was the ruler of heaven and earth. Lin Muyu had cultivated for many years, but he had never seen such a strong righteous qi. The golden tower emitted rays of golden light, like silk ribbons, and the power within it was amazing. This was not a true understanding of the power of the invisible elephant technique, because the basic power of the invisible elephant technique came from the elephant divine power, and the elephant divine power came from the divine wheel. Only by transforming the power of the divine wheel into the elephant divine power could one be considered to have completed the basic cultivation. But this step was impossible for Lin Muyu at present. He took a deep breath and continued to use the invisible elephant technique. Immediately, the tower in his high continued to rotate. Every time it rotated, the power of the tower increased by 1 level, and the golden light also became stronger. Just like this, he did not know how many times it had rotated. Until the sky gradually brightened, the tower in Lin Muyu's high was shining with golden light. The light was already dazzling as the bright morning sun. Phew! He took a deep breath and absorbed the power into his body. At this time, the tower in his high also began to disintegrate. The power of the tower came from the divine wheel, and the disintegration of the tower also meant that the power of the divine wheel was beginning to disintegrate into smaller units. Strands of divine power seeped into the 8 extraordinary meridians, making him feel extremely comfortable. Lin Muyu could not help but let out a cry. He opened his eyes. The secret room was dark, and there was no one to disturb him. And the power in the meridians began to gather like a torrential river. He slowly opened his palm, and strands of divine power began to gather in the meridians. Very quickly, they gathered in the meridians in the palm. When a faint yellow light came out of the meridians, it was a pleasant surprise. And the color of this light became darker and darker, gradually changing from the original lustrous color to a deeper golden color. Then, with a pu sound, it dispersed into the surrounding air. Success, this was the true elephant divine power, an existence that was completely different from the ordinary divine power. Lin Muyu was wild with joy. In just a short night, he had actually completed the transformation of the divine willpower. The next step should be to recondense the elephant divine power into the form of the wheel seal, and that would be the elephant wheel. At this time, he also realized that his clothes were already drenched. God knows how much sweat he had shed during this night of training, and his stomach was also growling with hunger. He got up and took the dishes that the servant at the small door of the secret room had sent over. It was already cold, but he only needed to slightly circulate his power to condense the law of fire, and in a few seconds, it would be warm and fragrant again. After eating his fill, he did not stop to meditate again, and began a new round of training. He was too thirsty for power. The sooner he mastered the invisible elephant technique, the faster he could change the situation. However, Lin Muyu did not know that the flames of war had already started in the northern border of the empire, and this fire had almost burned half of the empire's sky red. Bang bang bang, the magic crystal cannons exploded on the snowy plains, bringing with them billowing thick smoke, but the effect of the magic crystal cannons was greatly weakened by the Dragon Knight's Dragon Imperial spin, so the opponent did not suffer much damage at all. Bastard! On the high walls of the city, an Imperial guard pulled out his sword and said in a low voice, "You must defend the subduing wolf pass for me. Behind you is the Muyu city. As soldiers, we will not let our home fall into the hands of the evil soldiers." A giant dragon descended from the sky, and a scorching hot dragon breath flowed past. In an instant, the guard and the surrounding soldiers were turned into miserable white bones. In the distance, a figure swept over, and with a light slash of his sword, the city gate was opened. The northern gate of the empire was easily blasted open. Chapter 857. Empire Calendar Year 7742, May 7th. Snow falling in the north. It was snowing heavily in the cold Muyu city. Although it was normal for snow to fall in Muyu city, it was already May. It was not normal for it to snow. It was noisy in the city. The sound of horses' hooves, quarrels, orders, and the crying of the common people were all mixed together. The news of the 4 northern passes of Cloud Province had been lost came one after another. The people in the city had heard about the massacre in Lingkong Province. The legend of the eastern barbarians who attacked made many people cry every night. Now it was too late to escape. Muyu City, known as one of the 7 famous cities of the empire, did not look like a prosperous city, but more like a graveyard. On the city wall, snow was falling, and the snowflakes fell on the shoulder armor. Luo Exen brushed the snow off her shoulder and put her hand on her sword. She looked anxiously at the people who were trying to escape on the main street. She could not help but frown. The people are in a mess. Su Zhangyan, the deputy commander of the Iron Blade Army, said. Yes, it is a mess. Luo Xen said lightly, Deputy Commander Su, take some people to comfort the people. Tell them that the 200,000 soldiers of the Iron Blade Army will live and die with Muyu City. Moreover, the 3 princes will send reinforcements soon. Cloud Province will not be lost. Yes, I will do it right now. Su Zhangyan quickly flew down the city wall. Luo Xian looked at his back and couldn't help but sigh. Su Zhangyan was the distant nephew of her foster father, Su Miyun. He was also one of the few remaining generals of the Su clan. She really hoped that he would be able to overcome this crisis. Otherwise, the Su clan of the Cloud Province would become history, and she would be one of the gravestones of this period of history. Outside the city, the sound of horses' hooves could be heard. A light cavalry quickly stopped, grabbed the rope at the edge of the city wall, and climbed up like a monkey. He knelt on one knee and said respectfully, Greetings, Master Exith. No need to stand on ceremony. Is there any news? Yes. The cavalry said in a low voice. They are already 50 miles away. There are at least 100,000 people, and there are about 50 dragon knights. There is an endless stream of people behind them. I cannot count them clearly. In addition, I saw another army of a different race. Whose army? Northern Desert Wolf soldiers. What? Luo Xian's body trembled slightly. Are you saying that the wolf soldiers of the Northern Desert are with the people of the Empire of Tianji? Yes. The cavalryman frowned and said, after the Longji army annihilated the demon race in the northern polar region, they disappeared without a trace for nearly half a month. This subordinate guessed that during this half a month, they must have annihilated the northern desert while waiting for reinforcements. Now it seems that the northern desert has already surrendered to the Tianji Empire, otherwise those wolf soldiers would not listen to the Tianji Empire's orders. A bunch of fence-sitters. Luo Xen punched the battlements hard, causing the broken stones to fly in all directions. She said angrily, Damn the northern desert. Every year, we send them so many gold and silver gifts, brocades and satin, but they surrender to the kingdom of Tianji so easily. Damn it. If I had known this, I would have asked for permission to go to the northern desert and uprooted them. As he said this, he paused to calm down and said, How many wolf soldiers did you see? I couldn't tell at first glance, but they covered the entire wandering plain. If I'm not mistaken, the number of wolf soldiers is at least over 100,000. These beasts have burned, killed, and looted along the way. Our 4 states and 23 counties in the north have been deeply harmed. Wherever the wolf soldiers went, there was devastation and countless casualties. Luo Xen trembled with anger. She closed her eyes and said to the sky, Father, Luo Xen has let you down. I can't believe I couldn't protect your people. I'm too useless. As she said this, Luo Xen shook her robe sleeves and turned to the group of generals behind her. She shouted in a low voice, Pass down my order. Prepare for war. We would rather die than surrender. Yes, Father. Everyone knelt down on one knee, looked up at Luo Xen and said in unison, We pledge our lives to serve our country. As long as the city lives, we live. If the city falls, we die. At dusk, the snow was getting heavier and heavier. It fell to the ground like goose feathers, making a rustling sound. Outside the Twilight City, more and more troops were gathering. They did not face any resistance and did not show any signs of attacking the city. They just set up a few hundred camps far away from the Twilight City, surrounding the city so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. Tonight, it seemed like the Longji army did not intend to attack the city. Inside the tent, snow was constantly falling from the entrance of the tent, and a bonfire inside the tent was providing warmth for everyone. On the bonfire, there was a roasted cow that was about to be cooked, and it was sizzling with oil. A middle-aged general sat on the commander's seat. He was wearing a commander's armor. He was the commander of the Longji army, Fang Lan. Another seat was arranged for him to sit on the same level. It was none other than the Dragon Rider General, Lin Tongtian. Below the commander's seat were a few deputy commanders of the Longji army and captaincy. Then, there were a few people of different races in leather robes. One of them, who wore a crown on his head, was the leader of the northern desert tribe, Big Wolf Lord Mo Dun. We'll start attacking the city tomorrow morning. Fang Lan took the warm wine from the maid and smiled. The Twilight City is an important city of the Qin Empire. It is rich and sturdy. It is known as one of the 7 famous cities. The general guarding the city is Luo Exin, the adopted son of Su Muyun. It is said that he is also a famous general of the Qin Empire, who will fight the first battle. The group of captaincy of the Longji army was solemn. No one said a word. Fang Lan smiled and said, "Great Wolf Lord Mountain, you are the chief of the wolf tribe of the northern desert and an ally of our empire of Tianji. Since we have made an agreement, it is time for your tribe to fulfill it. Why don't you let your 150,000 wolf soldiers be the first to attack Muyu City? What do you think, Great Wolf Lord Maodun?" Mo Dun was slightly stunned. A few of his subordinates were also shocked and unwilling. After a few seconds, Mo Dun bowed respectfully and said, "Lord Fang Lan, we, the wolf soldiers, have come from afar. We are not used to the climate here. Besides, many of us have not had a full meal for many days. Why don't you let your army attack first? We will be ready after some rest." "Is that so?" Fang Lan smiled faintly. "I heard that the tribes of the northern desert graze in the summer and fall and raid in the spring and winter. You must be having a hard time. Look at the vast farmlands around the Twilight City. If we can make it the fiefdom of your wolf soldiers, you can farm here. You can also have the women of the Central Plains to warm your tents. How great would that be?" Mo Dun clenched his teeth and remained silent. Fang Lan continued, "Since the northern desert wolf tribe has decided to serve the Tianji Empire, why are you hesitating? Big Wolf Lord Mo Dun, I promise that if you can take down the Twilight City, I will give this city to you. I will also give you half of the 14 prefectures of the Cloud Province as a reward. What do you think?" Mo Dun was shocked. The northern desert had been coveting the Cloud Province for thousands of years. How tempting was that? But Mo Dun also knew that the person guarding the city was the famous general of the empire, Luo Exin. The 200,000 steel blade army under him was the main force of the empire. How could his 150,000 wolf soldiers take over the Twilight City from Luo Exin? "Give me an answer." Lin Tongtian seemed a little impatient. He said, "Don't let the Tianji Empire think that our ally is useless. You can't do anything and only know how to waste food." Mo Dun clenched his teeth. "I will go. My 150,000 wolf soldiers will attack the city with me, but you must provide us with siege weapons. In addition, you must let my wolf soldiers eat their fill. Even if I have to let them die, I will let them die with a full stomach. Don't worry about that." Fang Lan smiled. "Someone, send an order to the supply department to slaughter cattle and sheep. Let the wolf soldiers eat their fill tonight. Tomorrow morning will be the time for them to fight the enemy." "Yes, Commander." Mo Dun's face was livid. He didn't say anything else. Late at night, deep in the wolf soldiers' camp, inside the main tent of the big wolf camp, Mo Dun didn't say anything. He looked very old. The generals' faces were also pale. One of them said, "Great Wolf Lord, the walls of the Twilight City are more than 20 meters tall. The soldiers and food in the city are good. They also have those terrifying cannons that can spit fire. If we attack the city rashly, we will be sending our wolf soldiers to their deaths. Humph! The people of the Tianji Empire deserve death. They are just using the wolf soldiers to waste the cannons in the city. The Tianji Empire only treats us as a tool. When did they ever treat us as an ally?" Mo Dun said calmly, I know. There's no need to say any more. We will attack the city tomorrow morning. Let the 1st and 3rd Battalion attack until noon. If they can't take the city by then, retreat. If we lose more than 50,000 people, retreat as well." "Then what do we tell Fang Lan?" "Humph!" A cold light flashed in Maoduan's eyes as he said, "We wolves are wolves, and Fang Lan only treats us like dogs. Don't worry, Fang Lan only has 150,000 soldiers. After they take over a city, they will need to leave people to defend it, and we wolf soldiers are the best defenders. If Fang Lan isn't stupid, he won't just watch as 150,000 wolf soldiers go to their deaths. Yes, I understand. Sleep early. Tomorrow is the day we go into battle. Mo Dun's face was cold. He said, "One day, I will make Fang Lan and Lin Tongtan regret this." The next morning, the snow finally stopped. When the morning light shone on the snow-covered city of Muyu City, the conch horn sounded in the distance. Dense numbers of wolf soldiers pushed the siege equipment straight towards the city wall. A great battle was about to break out. Clang! Luo Xian pulled out her sword. She shouted, "Prepare for battle." The people on the city walls started to get busy. The archers quickly drew their arrows. The magic crystal cannons started to calibrate. They aimed at the preset positions below the city walls. They were just waiting for the enemy to enter their firing range. The wolf soldiers held a round shield in one hand and a curved blade in the other. They were covered in fur armor. They roared and hit the round shields with their curved blades. The clanging sounds echoed through the sky. Chapter 858. At dusk, the siege lasted for an entire day. Finally, the wolf soldiers retreated like the tide, leaving behind crisscrossed magic crystal cannon craters and countless corpses. Pillars of smoke rose into the sky, but the Longji army camp in the distance was indescribably quiet. They only allowed the wolf soldiers to attack the city, but they did not make any movements. What are they trying to do? Luo Xian punched the battlement of the city wall, causing the snow to fly. They are using the northern desert wolf soldiers to consume our cannons. Su Zhangyan's face was pale. He looked at the enemy camp in the distance and said, "In just one day, we have used up half of the magic crystal cannon ammunition. The Muyu city originally did not have much ammunition. I am afraid that when the sun rises tomorrow, Fang Lan will personally lead the Longji army to attack the city. Once the magic crystal cannons are used up, we will no longer have the power to resist. And Master Xian, you have also seen, they did not even send out a single dragon knight to assist the wolf soldiers. Cunning and shameless Fang Lan." Luo Xian's eyes were deep. He said, "How long until the reinforcements arrive?" "Not long ago, we received a letter saying that His Highness Feng Jixing is leading 50,000 cavalry at full speed, but the mounts need to rest, and there are no replacement horses along the way, so the speed is rather slow, and the snow is blocking the way into the Tianshu province, so it will take about 3 days to reach the Muyu city." 3 days? Luo Xian was at a loss. Can we hold on for more than 3 days? Do your best. We have 200,000 elite steel blade army. There is no reason for us to sit and wait for death. Yes, there is no reason for us to sit and wait for death. Luo Xian clenched his fist. His eyes shot out a ray of light. He said, "Pass down the order. Just say that Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu are leading 200,000 troops to reinforce the Muyu city. They will arrive in 2 days. Let the soldiers defend the city with all their might. Once the two highnesses arrive, the Tianji Empire will definitely collapse without a fight." Yes, this subordinate understands. Tianshu Province, Meizhou, Fairy Lake. The sound of hooves could be heard as rows of cavalrymen with purple flower emblems on their chests galloped past the lake. Their vigorous figures were reflected in the lake water. These were the last elite cavalrymen of the empire. Feng Jixing urged his horse forward slowly, followed by Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, and the other deputy commanders of the imperial army. "What lake is this?" he asked suddenly. "Your Highness, it is the northern shore of the Fairy Lake," Luo Yu said respectfully. "Fairy Lake." Feng Jixing's sword-like brows furrowed tightly as he muttered, "Back then, His Majesty met with misfortune here. Sai, Zhenan King Qin Yi caused a 10-year catastrophe for the common people with a single thought. Is this throne really that easy to sit on?" Zhang Wei laughed. "I'm afraid that might not be the case. His Majesty, the Radiant King, has already drowned in the Fairy Lake, and Her Highness Yin's life and death are unknown for the sake of the Empire. How many people sitting on the throne will have a good ending?" Taking out a crumpled map from his pocket, Feng Jixing glanced at it and said, "Pass down the order to speed up the march. I'm afraid that the Tianji Empire's soldiers are already attacking Muyu City." Yes, Luo Yu nodded. This subordinate will pass down the order to the front army to speed up. Don't mess up the formation. Feng Jixing had always been prudent when it came to using troops. He pondered for a moment and said, maintain the center army as the core. The front, back, left, and right armies must surround and protect each other. Every direction must send out 15 scouts to investigate. Do not act rashly at any time. Yes, this subordinate understands. Luo Yu's eyes were full of admiration. In terms of the ability to command, in the Qin Empire, only Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing were worthy of his admiration. Lin Muyu was good at using troops and strategies. She often attacked when the enemy was unprepared and won unexpected victories. However, once her strategy was seen through, she would probably be defeated. On the other hand, Feng Jixing's fighting style was completely different. Feng Jixing was calmer. Every time the army marched, he would divide the left and right armies to reinforce each other. He would also send out a large number of scouts to increase the vision of the entire army. It was also because of this style that Feng Jixing had never been defeated in a surprise attack. It was very difficult for an enemy to break the formation of the army commanded by Feng Jixing. On the side, Chu Chu was dressed in a white robe and riding a thin horse with a calm expression. He was not fat, and he used the ability to fly. The warhorse did not have to bear much weight, so naturally, the pressure was not great. He looked at everything around him indifferently and did not say anything. Feng Jixing then asked, Chu, you are a veteran of 3 dynasties. Don't you have anything to say? Regarding the current situation. Chu Chu smiled and said, General Feng, you are both famous generals of the empire. However, since the start of the war in the Celestial Pole, you have never won again. 2 generals who always win have become generals who always lose. Have you ever thought about why? Feng Jixing was a little embarrassed and said, Chu is right. Actually, I have also thought about it. Strength is part of it, but there is another factor that always makes me feel powerless. However, I can't tell what it is. It's the hearts of the people. Chu Chu went straight to the point and said, after the 3 kings ruled the world, the people in the world are no longer loyal. You see, the main forces of the empire are doing their own things, and their joint combat ability is completely unable to be demonstrated. What is more fatal is the local armies of the various prefectures and prefectures. The thieves of the Tianji Empire rarely encountered any resistance along the way, and the prefectural armies surrendered at the first sign of trouble. What does this mean? It means that the people in the world are not loyal, and they don't know who they are fighting for. Feng Jixing was a little silent. Chu Chu's words were like a sharp knife stabbing into his heart. It was true that the people in the world were not loyal. How could they fight this war? He gently cupped his fists and said respectfully, Please teach me, Chu. Chu Chu gently stroked his beard and said, There are 2 ways. One is for you to proclaim himself emperor and change his surname to Qin. The people in the world will still recognize only one emperor, and that is the Qin family. The world will still belong to the Qin family. That's impossible. Feng Jixing shook his head and said, Don't you understand Yu's personality? Proclaiming himself king was already his bottom line. He had always felt that he was honoring his promise to His Majesty Qin Jin, that he would protect Her Highness Yin's kingdom. To have him overstep his bounds and proclaim himself emperor was worse than killing him. Chu, why don't you tell me the other way? The other way is for Her Highness Yin to return. That's as good as not saying anything. Feng Jixing laughed bitterly and said, If Her Highness Yin can return, I, Feng Jixing, am willing to exchange my life for her ruling the world. But no one knows where Her Highness Yin is. Perhaps she has already passed away, yes. Chu Chu took a deep breath and said, But it's too important to follow the hearts of the people. If General Feng thinks that these 2 ways are not feasible, we can think of another way to rule the country. Chu, please say it. Immediately write a letter to you and let him do it. Send an edict to all the feudal princes and order them to recruit their own troops and resist the invading bandits. All the seized territories will be divided into their fiefs. All the armies of the Qin Empire will change their names and call themselves the Qin Army. Let them know that they are the army of the Qin family. The names of those who died in battle will be listed on the national monument. Allow the feudal princes to recruit troops. Feng Jixing was startled. Countless thoughts flew through his mind and he said, "This method is feasible, but if the feudal princes are allowed to recruit troops, I'm afraid that it will be difficult to clean up the Tianji Empire even after we destroy it. The feudal princes are ambitious. If we let them have troops and become stronger, it will be difficult for us to control them." Chu Chu smiled and said, "This is better than the Qin family being destroyed, right?" Feng Jixing also smiled and said, "Okay, I understand. Write a letter and send it to you. Let him, the king of Qin, handle this matter. I believe that you will also agree to this proposal." Chu Chu took a deep look at the north and said, "The three major provinces of the empire, Yunzhong, Tongtian and Lingkong, have been invaded by bandits. In the blink of an eye, we have lost nearly 30 provinces. If we can't make good use of the local armies of the various provinces, it will indeed be difficult to resist the powerful bandits." "Okay, I understand." After writing the letter, a messenger bird flew straight to the east, which was the direction of Winter Frost City. It seemed that the future of the entire Qin Empire was also tied to the wings of this small messenger bird. Soon after, a messenger came galloping with a flustered look on his face. He held the letter in his hand and said loudly, "Your Highness Prince Exin, a letter written by Duke Luo Exin of Twilight Rain City." "Give it to me." Feng Jixing reached out and grabbed the letter. He opened it and read it carefully. His expression changed dramatically. "What's wrong, Your Highness?" Zhang Wei and Luo Yu asked at the same time. Twilight Rain City is surrounded on all sides. There are 150,000 Long Ji army and 150,000 wolf soldiers surrounding the city. In addition, there are no less than 100 dragon knights helping them. Most of the dragon knights from the Battle of the Luo River estuary have already gone to reinforce the Long Ji army. Zhang Wei held the hilt of his sword and said, "Then let's speed up. Maybe we can reach Twilight Rain City in a day and a half. It's not too late. Luo Xian has 200,000 steel blade soldiers. They won't be killed in a few moves. As long as we are fast enough, we should be able to catch up. When the time comes, we can coordinate from the inside and outside and kill the Long Ji army." "It's too late." Feng Jixing shook his head and said, "We can't even fight our way in. Moreover, we may be ambushed by the bandits outside. Moreover, we don't have any magic crystal crossbows. The number of dragon knights is enough to destroy us." "Then what should we do?" Zhang Wei was shocked. Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and took out the crumpled map again. He said resolutely, "Order everyone to drop their armors and supplies and advance at full speed. We will go around Twilight Rain City. We must reach Wolf Subduing Pass in 2 days and take it down." "Attack Wolf Subduing Pass?" Zhang Wei was shocked. "Then we don't want Twilight Rain City anymore? We don't care about Luo Xian's life?" Luo Yu laughed at the side. "Your Highness has a brilliant plan. Attacking Wolf Subduing Pass might save Twilight Rain City." Zhang Wei was confused. "What are you talking about? I don't understand at all." Chapter 859. Luo Yu rode his horse forward and patted Zhang Wei's shoulder lightly. He smiled and said, "Don't think about it if you don't understand. Hurry up and urge the army to enter Cloud Province before nightfall. We must reach Wolf Subduing Pass within 2 days." "All right." Zhang Wei held his steel saber and thought for a while, but he was still confused. He immediately shouted, "Brats, don't be lazy. Hurry up and march faster. We must enter the Cloud Ridge before nightfall. Otherwise, I will beat your butts into mush." As he spoke, Zhang Wei was still unwilling to give up. He urged his horse to catch up and said, "Luo Yu, don't keep me in suspense. Tell me quickly, what's going on with His Highness's strategy? Why are we attacking Wolf Subduing Pass instead of Mu City?" "It's very simple. But if I tell you, you owe me a meal of dog meat and wine. How about that?" All right. Hurry up and tell me, you brat." "Ha!" Luo Yu laughed heartily, then raised his hand and drew a circle in the air. He said, "The map of Cloud Province is like this. The entire Cloud Province is surrounded by Cloud Ridge, like a huge wash basin. There is only one exit north of this wash basin, and that is Wolf Subduing Pass. This Wolf Subduing Pass was originally built for the Northern Desert Wolf Tribe, but now it has become the northern gate of Cloud Province. Old Zhang, think about it. If we attack Wolf Subduing Pass and close the gate, what will happen to the hundreds of thousands of Long Ji soldiers deep inside Cloud Province? Zhang Wei's eyes lit up. You mean, this is equivalent to closing the gate and beating the dogs? Yes. Luo Yu nodded and smiled. As long as we take down the Wolf Subduing Pass and cut off their route of retreat and food supply, it will create a strong sense of claustrophobia for the wolf soldiers and the Long Ji army. Any expeditionary force is most afraid of this kind of situation where their route of retreat is cut off. As long as that bastard Fong Lan is not stupid, he will definitely send a large number of troops to take down the Wolf Subduing Pass. We can then make use of the mobility of the cavalry to lead them around the world of ice and snow in the northern region. Going back and forth, even if he does not die of exhaustion, he will starve to death. On one hand, we can solve the siege of Muyu City, and on the other hand, we can eliminate this group of eastern barbarians who entered Yunzhong province without any bloodshed. Zhang Wei was filled with admiration. He gave a thumbs up and said, Luo Yu, you're really full of tricks. Tell me, why can't I, old Zhang, think of this method? Both you and Prince Xian are really full of evil ideas, able to think of all sorts of ideas. Humph. Luo Yu glared at him and said, if it were you, what kind of strategy would you think of? Zhang Wei thought about it and said, directly kill our way over and kill all the barbarians of Tianji Nation. Kill their entire families and *CK their women. This is what a man should do. Luo Yu touched her nose. Although it sounds very straightforward, it's definitely not what a benevolent general would do. You can say these things to me, but don't ever tell Prince Xian or His Highness Prince Qin. Otherwise, they'll definitely give you 5,000 lashes and give you a quick death. Zhang Wei grinned. Don't mention it. Regardless of whether it's working under Prince Xian or Prince Yu, there aren't any benefits. There's no good wine or women. Every day, we're just a bunch of men huddling together and eating leftovers. To be honest, we're too useless as soldiers. Look at you. You're so capable, but what kind of life do you live? Luo Yu was stunned. Don't tell me that you're disloyal? Do you want to rely on Zheng Yifan or Xiang Yu? Only if I die. Zhang Wei grinned. Although it's tough for me to follow General Feng, I feel at ease. After going through so much suffering, I'll be able to gain a good reputation as an empire's warrior. Say, if I really die on the battlefield one day and my name is written on the front row of the nation-suppressing monument, will those singers in Lanyan City who once slept with me feel very gratified when they see my name? They'll remember me as a great hero? Maybe. Luo Yu smiled faintly and said, don't think too much, brother. A scourge like you will bring harm for 1,000 years. It won't be so easy for you to die. The singers in Lanyan City are still waiting for you to patronize them. Zhang Wei held his battle saber and looked at the muddy water splashed by the horse's hooves. He seemed to be in a daze as he said, I, Zhang Wei, have been muddle-headed my entire life, relying on my fists to bully others and to win my dignity. I've never known about the affairs of the country or the righteousness of the nation. It was only when I became a soldier that I understood what was going on. If I really die on the battlefield, Luo Yu, you must remember to help me go to the imperial capital's spring in a few more times and help me drink a few more times. Luo Yu sneered and said, idiot, you won't die. After the war is over, I'll accompany you to the Spring Inn. I won't go back on my word. All right, let's go together. Call Prince Xian along. Shu, lower your voice. However, it seemed that Feng Jixing had already heard them. Without even turning his head, he said, I'm not going. If anyone wants to go, the two of you can go. I, Feng Jixing, am a decent person. Zhang Wei and Luo Yu exchanged glances and smiled. There was a limit to how decent this decent person could be. North of the eastern capital, the Luo River estuary stronghold was quiet. In the secret room, Lin Muyu, who was cultivating in seclusion, had already entered the crucial stage of cultivating the formless elephant art. In the dark secret room, only his beer was emitting a faint glow. In his EC, a total of 128 streams of elephant wheel divine power were intertwined, forming a 12-story pagoda. The pagoda was slowly rotating in the air above his EC. Streams of divine power entered the bottom of the pagoda from his EC, flowing through the 12 stories, and finally soared into the sky, turning into a stream of power that shot into his meridians. With every circulation, the power of the pagoda would increase. After 128 circulations, finally, Lin Muyu slowly opened his eyes. Lin Muyu could feel that his essence core was extremely full. He couldn't help but smile. He opened his right palm, and a stream of golden divine power gushed out from his meridians, gradually forming a miniature, divine wheel filled with divine power in the air. The divine wheel was circular, and in the middle was the image of a Xieji mythological beast. It couldn't be seen clearly, but it must have followed the natural laws and condensed the image of an ancient beast. Buzz! This real elephant wheel spun rapidly in the air, stirring up an awe-inspiring wave of divine power. It actually destroyed all the nearby walls with a ping-ping-ping sound. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. The power of this elephant wheel was much inferior to that of a complete divine wheel. It was about 10% of the strength of a complete divine wheel, but the consumption of divine power was also a lot less. According to his current cultivation, even if he condensed this kind of elephant wheel 1,000 times, his divine power would not be exhausted. Moreover, the elephant wheel faintly revealed the way of kingship and domineering, which was even more incomparable to the original divine wheel. It seemed like the shapeless elephant formula had finally made some progress. He had already entered the first level of heaven, the one elephant white earth. As his cultivation deepened, he could condense more and more elephant wheels in an instant. When he reached 10 elephant wheels, it would be the second level of the 10 elephants punishing heaven. If one elephant wheel was already so powerful, how strong would 10, 100, 1,000 and 10,000 be? How strong would it be? Lin Muyu didn't dare to think about it. He took a deep breath, and a joyful sound came from his body. The waves in his meridians were endless, and he actually broke through the second level of the Grotto Heaven realm without a sound. He had already entered the 27th level of the Grotto Heaven realm. Just like what Scholar Ling said, this profound martial art came from the human realm beyond heavens, and it would be of great benefit to his cultivation of the Supreme Godhead. Your Highness, are you all right? The Imperial Guard Captain Bai Yin's voice came from outside. The collapse of the secret chamber had alerted him. I'm fine. Lin Muyu turned around and flew down from the bed. She opened the door and walked out. She asked, Bai Yin, is everything all right outside? There's only one small matter. His Highness Feng Jixing has sent a letter. It's about the Imperial Edict. Oh? I'll go take a look. Has His Highness finished his closed-door cultivation? Only a little. Let's take a look at Big Brother Feng's letter first. When Lin Muyu entered the meeting hall, Tang Xiaoxi, Chu Yao, and Zheng Yifan were slightly stunned. They could all see that Lin Muyu's aura and temperament had changed a little. They couldn't tell what the change was, but they felt that it was developing in a good direction. It seems like your shapeless elephant art has made some progress. Tang Xiaoxi smiled. Lin Muyu took Feng Jixing's letter from her hands. She nodded and smiled. I've finally seen the door. At least I know what the shapeless elephant art is. That's good. Everyone's waiting for you. After carefully reading Feng Jixing's letter word by word, Lin Muyu frowned. Everyone's finished reading, right? Speak if you have any opinions. Zheng Yifan said, why don't you express your opinion first? What do you think of His Highness Feng Jixing's strategy of allowing the feudal vassals to recruit troops, attack and expand their fiefs? Very good. This will mobilize the enthusiasm of the feudal vassals. It's better than having a few armies fight one-sidedly. Lin Muyu pressed the letter on the table. I agree. What do Master Fan and Ant AI think? Su'er said, I don't have any opinions either. Xing Yifan pondered for a moment. It's easy to let a tiger return to the mountain, but it's hard to chase a tiger back into the cage. I'm just worried that it'll be difficult to take back the military power in the future. It might even cause the Empire's power to be unable to be centralized again. Your Highness, we need to give this matter further thought. I know, Lin Muyu said in a low voice. But there's no better way at the moment. As long as we can defeat the Tianji Empire, I'll try any dangerous method. Issue the edict immediately. Do everything you can to send the edict to the highest officials in all the prefectures and prefectures. Also, change the name of the Empire's army to the Qin Army. We're the army of the Qin clan, and we fight for the Qin clan. Yes, I understand. Chu Yao stood up. She was wearing an elegant white robe. She smiled gently. You've come out of seclusion? Tell me, what do you want to eat for lunch? I'll prepare it for you right away. Anything is fine. I'll eat whatever Sister Chu Yao cooks. Hee, you're such a sweet talker. Chu Yao turned around and left. Tang Xiaoxi walked closer and smiled. Mu, let me see how powerful the invisible elephant spell is. Right here. What else? All right then. Lin Mu took a few steps back and suddenly let out a low roar. Suddenly, the aura between heaven and earth seemed to gather around his body. The ground under his feet was covered with a layer of frost-like substance, and a golden elephant will slowly gathered under his feet. For a moment, Tang Xiaoxi, Xing Yifan, and the others almost couldn't breathe. The power of this aura seemed to be superior to the immortal realm. I'm done. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. Lin Muyu dispersed his power. Immediately, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Xing Yifan remained silent. Many years ago, with Lin Muyu's cultivation, he probably couldn't even block one of his fingers. But now, if Lin Muyu were to use his full power, he probably wouldn't even be able to block 3 of her attacks. Time had changed too quickly. Chapter 860. In the Western Divine Realm, ancient stone pillars pierced through the clouds, surrounded by mountains and seas of fog. Such a paradise could only be found in the Divine Realm. When the first rays of the morning sun pierced through the clouds and landed on the ground, the angel-level experts spread their wings and flew into the sky above the palace. They were silent, allowing the morning light to seep into their bodies, absorbing and refining the precious light energy. Morning training was one of the traditions of the Western Divine Realm. The morning sun contained the purest energy. 2 hours of training in the morning was equivalent to 6 hours of training in the rest of the day. They never slacked off. On the high spirit mountain, a few people stood above the clouds, looking down at the illusions formed by the sea of clouds. However, the fog kept dissipating, unable to condense into a true form. The ruler, who was covered in light energy and dressed in a black robe, stood proudly in the sky. There was a hint of impatience in his eyes. What's going on? We haven't been able to see the situation in the celestial pole continent for a long time. Could it be that the misty mountains can no longer spy on everything in the mortal world? Child of the blazing angel shook her head and said, apart from the celestial pole continent, the cloudy mountains and misty seas can spy on any plane in the mortal world. They can even spy on the territories controlled by the other heaven realms. However, I suspect that the 7 luminaries demon emperor is still behind the celestial pole continent. He was the one who opened a barrier and completely cut off our connection with the celestial pole continent. It's the 7 luminaries demon emperor again. There was a chill in Claude's voice as he said, since we've already made a divine pact, he shouldn't have done such a dirty thing. Now, we don't even know what happened in the celestial pole continent. What should we do? That's right. We originally planned to choose 10 cultivators with good aptitudes from the celestial pole continent to ascend to the divine realm and join the angel corps. Now, it seems like we can only put this plan on hold. But don't worry, Lord Ruler. The celestial pole continent has hundreds of god-level experts, but there are only a few in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Moreover, we've sent Xin, Dola, and the Battle Angel team to the mortal world. We can win this battle even with our eyes closed, right? Eva consoled. Perhaps. Claude's brows knit together tightly as he gazed at Xian and said, "Xian, why aren't you saying anything?" Xian looked at the sea of clouds, her body surrounded by holy light. She said thoughtfully, "I'm wondering if Dora has already made a move on Xin." "What do you mean by this?" Claude asked indifferently. Xian smiled faintly and said tacitly, "Perhaps I'm thinking too much. Dora has deep hatred for Xin, and it's clear that she wants to replace him. Once she's out of our sight, Dora can do whatever she wants. We won't be able to stop her." Claude fell silent for a while, then finally coughed and said, "If there's still no news within half a year, we can only send another expert to the celestial pole continent to take control of the situation. Eva, make your preparations." Eva was stunned. Sending a god at the level of a seraph to the mortal world to interfere with the situation was unprecedented. However, she still nodded gently and said, "As you wish, ruler." Xian frowned slightly. The Star Cave was a cave for banishment. Once one was baptized by the Star Cave, they would be removed from the list of gods in the Western Divine Realm. Naturally, they would no longer be restricted by the Divine Pact. It seemed that the Star Cave had become the ruler's last hope. In the Eastern Heavenly Realm, thunder and lightning rumbled and dark clouds rolled in the sky. It was as if they were experiencing a calamity. Spirit mountains floated below the dark clouds, and between the spirit mountains and the dark clouds, flashes of lightning flashed. Bolts of lightning fell from the sky in a frenzy, as if they were tearing the sky apart. The power of the lightning seemed to be attracted, as strands of it attached to a horizontal plane, then disappeared without a trace, as if it had been consumed. If one looked closely, it wasn't difficult to discover that there was actually a figure in the midst of the lightning bolts. It was a tall and handsome figure wearing a mighty scarlet cloak. In his hand was an axe that was flashing with lightning and floating golden characters. At this moment, the tip of the axe was constantly drawing in the divine thunder of the 9 heavens, and half of the handle of the axe had seeped into nothingness. It was as if a plane had been cut open and the power of the divine thunder of the 9 heavens poured into it. Naturally, no one could have such godly power. In the entire Eastern Heaven, only the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor could have such power. Zzz, thunder and lightning raged and spread out, forming a biting cold storm that blew everything around it. A huge parallel barrier spread out towards the edge of the sky. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor's face was dripping with sweat, but his gaze was getting sharper. Behind him, 3 golden circular forces slowly flew closer. It was Ziyao, Sunfeng, and Qingping. The 3 of them had opened up a godly power barrier to protect their bodies from being eroded by the divine thunder of the 9 heavens. "You're here?" The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said without turning his head. His cloak fluttered behind him, but his hands didn't stop moving at all. He continued to control the battle axe and continued to add energy to the barrier. "Demon Emperor, you've worked hard." Ziyao smiled faintly. Her aura was very long, and even her appearance seemed to be better than before. A sense of confidence that came from the depths of her heart overflowed. "Ziyao, you've finally recovered to the 99th level of Grotto Heaven." The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor smiled. "Congratulations." However, Ziyao smiled. Xian and Eva of the Western Heaven Realm have already reached the 99th level of Grotto Heaven. If I fall behind again, I'm afraid that you, Demon Emperor, will soon be beaten up by Claude. In the myriad worlds and stars, someone who can beat me up hasn't been born yet. A hint of frivolity flashed across the face of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor. Let's just say that. Ziyao's pair of beautiful eyes suddenly stared at the axe of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and said, "Panga's axe can split heaven and earth and travel through the void, but it will also absorb a large amount of the user's godly power. Demon Emperor, do you really want to rely on Panga's axe to block the connection between the Western Divine Realm and the Celestial Pole Continent?" "I have no other choice." The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said faintly, "You is my brother and also the strongest helper for my future battle against the Western Divine Realm and the Northern Heaven Realm. I definitely can't let you die in the Shattered Cauldron Realm just like that." I'm helping him through this crisis, and also helping myself through it. I believe that Xiao has also seen that the gods of the sky beyond skies have also made a move. That's right. Xiao smiled lightly. Fortunately, the person that the sky beyond skies heavenly emperor Fuxi is helping is you. This kid's luck is really extraordinary. He's probably the only person in the entire 3 realms who can obtain the inheritance of the heavenly emperor Fuxi's absolute art. That's right. The 7 luminaries' demon emperor's gaze was deep as he said, but from this matter, it can also be seen that the sky beyond skies is also not peaceful. Perhaps the dispute between the ancient gods of the sky beyond skies has already begun. Otherwise, Fuxi wouldn't have started to nurture his own successor. This Kidyu is talented and has the disposition of a sovereign. If I were Fuxi, I would also choose him to be my successor. In the end, you chose him to be your brother. Let's not talk about this. Ziyao, I want you to do something for me. Demon Emperor, please speak. Your subordinate will naturally do as you say. The 10 great divine artifacts of the East Heaven are scattered in the eastern wastelands. They are either buried deep underground or in the hands of peerless experts. I've only found Panga's axe. The whereabouts of the other divine artifacts are still unknown. Therefore, I want you to lead 20 god emperors and 100 god kings to search for them. Only by digging this antique out from the soil can we unleash their full power. We will have to fight the Western Divine Realm eventually. Their angels will inherit their blessings one after another. We don't have that much of a yield, so we have to rely on the divine artifacts. Yes, your subordinate understands. Ziyao raised her head and glanced at the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor. Demon Emperor, don't always hold Panga's axe in your hand. It will devour your divine power and turn it into its own. Do you understand? I understand. If you can find the bell of the Eastern Emperor and the Shenyuan sword, the Western Divine Realm will definitely lose. Ziyao turned around and left reluctantly. Her pink fists were tightly clenched. The reason why the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor became the ruler of the Eastern Heaven Realm was because he pursued the extreme. He always did things in an unconventional way. But now, in order to wage war with the Western Divine Realm, the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor had already made a very extreme choice. Is it worth it? Ziyao suddenly muttered to herself. The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor held Panga's axe in his hand and knelt on one knee on the enchantment. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. I control the East Heaven. Every day and night, I can hear the prayers and blessings of the people of the lower realm. They are used to living a peaceful life and love their ancestors and traditions. Their faith is Yen Huang, Fuxi and Yua. I can't let them become believers of Claude. The people of my East Heaven will never be slaves. Heh, Ziyao smiled. Her smile was exceptionally beautiful. She said faintly, you are really becoming more and more like you. What are you saying? Why aren't you going? Oh, I'm going. You have to take care too. This time, it will be 3 to 5 years. I won't be back so soon. And you take care too. The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor raised his head and looked at Ziyao's figure in the sky. There were some things he wanted to say, but he couldn't. His personality had always been like this. Even in front of the woman he loved, he couldn't say those lingering words. Some people were already so stubborn and self-respecting that they couldn't express their inner thoughts. And the 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor was like this. Below the 9 heavens and 10,000 realms, there were many planes controlled by the spirit mountains. Among the thousands of stars, 2 glittering planets had already merged together. They were the Shattered Cauldron World and the Celestial Pole Continent. These 2 planets were originally cut in half by divine power. Now, they were slowly merging as if they had formed a whole. Or perhaps they were originally one. At night, the sound of magic crystal cannons reverberated endlessly in Cloud Province. Flames shot up into the sky. Muyu City, which was once extremely prosperous, had now become the core of this war. Countless chariots slowly approached the city. Giant dragons hovered in the sky. Dragon knights constantly swooped down, using the edge of dragon spears and dragon swords to destroy the magic crystal cannons on the city walls. The sounds of explosions seemed to be the resistance of Muyu City. However, this resistance was quite powerless. The outcome had long been determined. It was just that the people were unwilling to surrender. Chapter 861. The sky had finally turned bright. The walls of Muyu City were filled with corpses. Almost 70% of the magic crystal cannons had been destroyed. However, the good news was that Long Ji's army had retreated once again. They had also suffered heavy losses. They had even lost a few dragon knights. In the chaotic artillery fire, even a god could not protect himself. Luo Xian was covered in dust and blood. He slowly walked past the walls with his spear in hand. Looking at the rows of corpses of the Steel Blade army soldiers, his heart kept trembling. This was the first time he had experienced such a bloody battle since he took charge of the Steel Blade army. It was also the first time he had seen the Steel Blade army suffer such a disaster. Move the corpses into the city and burn them together to prevent the spread of the plague, he said calmly. Yes, Duke Exin. Su Zhangyan nodded and waved his hand. A group of Kiliarchs began to give orders. It's already the third day. Luo Xian placed his hand on the cold battlement. It was unknown whether it was because of the cold weather or because he had exhausted too much of his divine power, but his voice was slightly trembling. He said, "Why haven't Prince Xian's reinforcements arrived yet?" Su Zhangyan said, "Feng Jixing has always been calm and steady when using troops. Let's wait a little longer. There will definitely be news." Could it be that Prince Xian's army has already been intercepted and killed on the way? No, definitely not. Su Zhangyan shook his head. Feng Jixing is not so easily defeated. He is Feng Jixing. However, after saying that, Su Zhangyan also felt that his words were not convincing enough. Although Feng Jixing was powerful, his opponent was the powerful Tianji Empire. The Tianji Empire, which had many God-state realm experts to assist them in the battle, was beyond the scope of military strategy. If Feng Jixing was careless, he might be killed by another deity. At this moment, a servant in charge of keeping messenger birds ran over excitedly. He said loudly, "Commander, good news. Good news." He quickly knelt down on the snowy ground and did not care about the mud on his knees as he passed a letter to Luo Exin and said, His Highness Feng Jixing had led 50,000 elite armored cavalry and used a roundabout tactic to attack Zhanlang Pass and had already taken it down. What? Feng Jixing attacked Wolf Town? Luo Exin was startled, but then her face was full of joy as if she had suddenly realized something. She clapped her fists and said with a smile, "What a clever Feng Jixing. Once we lose the Wolf Subduing Pass, the Tianji Empire will lose its rear supply and will definitely be defeated. As long as we hold the pass, Feng Jixing's strategy of outflanking will be able to kill these 200,000 enemies in the huge territory of Yunzhong province." That's right. Su Zhangyan was extremely excited. He ordered, "Pass down my order. Strengthen the defenses of all sections of the city wall and defend the city. The dawn of victory is about to arrive." Below the city, the main camp of the Long Ji army was in chaos. They had also just received the news from Zhanlang Pass. How annoying! Fang Lan slammed her fist on the table, sending the teacups and plates flying. Her eyes were filled with anger as she said, "This annoying Feng Jixing, why is he in Wolf Subduing Pass?" "Commander Feng, it seems that we have underestimated the enemy." Lin Tongtian smiled faintly and said, "Feng Jixing is much more powerful than we thought. Once Wolf Subduing Pass is lost, we can no longer transport food from the northern desert. We can only rely on looting to replenish our food supplies. However, this is not a long-term solution. The citizens along the way have already hidden their food supplies. All the major trading companies have closed their businesses. Even if we want to buy food, we can't buy it. Unless we massacre the entire city, we will not be able to feed the 200,000 soldiers of the Long Ji army and the Wolf soldiers. Then we will massacre the entire city." Fang Lan's veins were bulging. He said, "Feng Jixing forced me to do this. But Commander, don't forget the marshal's order. No one is allowed to massacre the entire city. His Majesty has already included the Shattered Cauldron world into the territory of the Empire. As soldiers of the Empire, will we use the butcher's knife on our own people? We can't do this, we can't do that. Does Lord Lin Tongtian have any good ideas? Fang Lan was rather anxious. Feng Jixing's tactics made him feel like he was sitting on pins and needles. At this moment, Fang Lan had already lost his composure. Lin Tongtian laughed and said, I do have an idea. I just don't know if Commander is willing to try it. Go ahead. Since Feng Jixing has taken drastic measures, why don't we beat him at his own game? Based on what I know, there is a large amount of food, fodder, weapons and equipment stored in the Muyu city. The food is enough to feed 300,000 soldiers for half a year. The only thing we need to do is to take over the Muyu city. As long as we can take over the Muyu city, we will be able to take the initiative. Fang Lan squinted his eyes and smiled. I understand this logic. However, the Muyu city is impenetrable. We have been attacking it for 3 days and still haven't broken through. Lord Lin Tongtian knows this as well. Yes, but don't we have new helpers now? Lin Tongtian looked to the side, where a beautiful young lady was sitting. It was Duo La, Luo Fei, and Duo Li were also there. Lin Tongtian's lips curled up as he said, with the help of the battle angel, we only need to lure the commander of the Twilight Rain city out of the city, then we can kill him in one fell swoop and seize the city. Dora sat there calmly without saying a word. All she wanted was fresh blood, the more the better. Only then would she be able to increase the strength of her black wing. How do we lure him? It's simple. We will break camp at night and pretend to be rushing to the wolf-subduing pass. Then, we will send someone to forge a letter from Feng Jixing, saying that Feng Jixing's troops are being held up by another of our troops and he is requesting for reinforcements from Luo Xian. As far as I know, Luo Xian is a loyal and brave man. He will definitely not let Feng Jixing be defeated. As long as Luo Xian leaves the city, we will change the target. With Miss Dora's help, we can use his head to kill our way into the Muyu city. Lin Tongtian paused at this point, then continued, although it's a bad move, if this can turn the situation of the entire Cloud province around, then we can give it a try. Even if we fail, we won't lose anything. If we succeed, it will be a great achievement. Commander Feng, you have single-handedly taken over 14 prefectures of the Cloud province. How do you think His Majesty will reward you? Fang Lan had always been a greedy person. She smiled widely and said, Lord Lin Tongtian is indeed a strategist. I am very impressed. Then, let's go with the plan. Miss Dora, you are an angel from the heavens. Please help me. Dora stood up and smiled while holding the Tig's spear. Don't worry, Commander. I am here to help you. I will do as you say. Pass down the order to break camp and leave. Yes. It was close to noon. There were sounds coming from afar. Banners were fluttering in the wind. The Longji army and the wolf soldiers had begun to retreat. In a blink of an eye, more than half of the big and small tents had disappeared. As expected, they have retreated. Luo Xian did not sleep for the whole night, but she was surprisingly energetic. She said, calculate the provisions immediately. Pass down the order to close the gates. Without my orders, no one is allowed to leave the city to fight. Yes, Duke Exon. But at this moment, a messenger stumbled to the top of the city wall and said, Commander, there is a letter from the Deputy Commander of the Imperial Guards, Zhang Wei. The Imperial Guards are besieged by 50,000 wolf soldiers in the wolf-subduing pass. Deputy Commander Zhang Wei is requesting for reinforcements. What? Luo Xian snatched the letter. The handwriting on it was rather coarse, and it was written in blood. Almost all the Imperial commanders recognized Feng Jixing's handwriting. But very few people had seen Zhang Wei's handwriting. No one even knew if Zhang Wei could write or not. Moreover, the words were written behind Feng Jixing's back. Feng Jixing was in charge of the wolf-subduing pass. Even if he was besieged, he was not willing to ask for reinforcements. It's over. Su Zhangyan's face turned ashen after reading the letter. He said, Feng Jixing is a straightforward person. He knows that once he asks for reinforcements, the Twilight Rain city will be in danger. So he gave the order to forbid asking for reinforcements. Zhang Wei wrote the letter in blood. It is enough to show how critical the battle in the wolf-subduing pass is. Could it be a trap? The old counselor said, if it is a trick from the Tianji Empire, what should we do? But Luo Exen was somewhat confused. Feng Jixing is the pillar of the empire and is also Her Highness Qin Yin's beloved general. If we sit back and watch Feng Jixing die in the wolf-subduing pass, how will we face the world? Moreover, Feng Jixing was besieged in the wolf-subduing pass because he wanted to help the Twilight Rain City. Even if this letter is forged, we must still give it a try. Otherwise, Luo Exen, will no longer have the face to live in this world. Saying that, he raised his steel spear and said, Su Zhangyan, how many steel blade army soldiers are there in the city that can fight? There are 90,000 steel blade army soldiers in the city, of which 50,000 are injured. Only about 50,000 are able to fight. What about the war mounts? More than 60,000. Good. Luo Xian's eyes were stern. Immediately mobilize the troops. I want 30,000 steel blade army to follow me into battle. We will leave from the west gate in the afternoon and bypass the retreat route of Long Ji's army. We will use the advantage of the cavalry to rush ahead of them and break the siege of the wolf-subduing pass. The defense of the Twilight Rain City will be handed over to you. Su Zhangyan, you must remember to defend the Twilight Rain City. Yes, Duke Exen. In the afternoon, the concentrated sounds of horse hooves shook the west side of the Twilight Rain City. The endless cavalries disappeared into the sea of snow and headed towards the wolf-subduing pass from the west. But Luo Exin did not know that it was a trap that he could not avoid. In the evening, the large group of cavalry passed through the Tsanggu Valley. Snow started to fall from the sky again. The two sides of the Tsanggu Valley were covered by the snow. It was clean and nothing could be seen. Luo Exen and his men galloped past without the slightest bit of vigilance against the forest on both sides. Suddenly, a low roar sounded out, "Release the arrows." Arrows rained down from both sides. A large number of Long Ji's archers appeared on both sides of the mountain. Shit, there's an ambush. A captaincy anxiously waved his arrows to block the arrows. But in the blink of an eye, he was turned into a porcupine. The majority of the men that Luo Xian led were light cavalry. For the sake of speed, they did not follow a rhythm. Screams sounded out as a few hundred men died instantly. Bastard! Luo Xian knew that he had fallen into a trap, but his heart ached for the 30,000 steel blade army that followed him. In the air, the roar of a giant dragon could be heard. A sharp chi energy attacked, but it was not a dragon knight. Instead, it was a beautiful young lady holding a spear. Her figure was graceful, but her eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. Chapter 862. Wang. The Fergus spear was wrapped in golden light divine energy. It was aimed at Luo Xian's head at an unbelievably fast speed. Luo Xian, who was on horseback, naturally couldn't dodge. He could only raise his spear to block. His divine energy surged, and the purple dragon martial soul emerged from his body and circled around the spear shaft. Although Luo Exen had just entered the divine state, he was still a divine state expert. Unfortunately, the opponent he was facing this time was too strong. Bang! Light splashed everywhere, and Luo Xian's iron spear was actually bent by the Fergus spear. Although the purple dragon martial soul was a first-grade martial soul, it couldn't withstand the power of the law. Under the impact of Duo La's 50 waves of divine energy, the iron spear in Luo Xian's hand was instantly sent flying. Luo Xian even fell off his warhorse. Luo Xian raised his hand and pulled out his sword. Blood was already dripping from the corner of his mouth. He roared angrily, "Smelly whore, come at me!" Duo La hated it when people called her this because it was the right thing to do. It made her feel a deep pain. Go ahead and curse me. I'll make sure your intestines rot and you die. Dora's eyes were filled with resentment. Like a roaring lion, a pair of black wings on its back frantically flapped and unfurled. The power of the law of darkness and light surged as the Dig's spear pierced forward like a blazing flame. Luo Xian couldn't block this attack anymore. Clang! Sparks splashed everywhere. The Fergus spear easily broke Luo Xian's steel sword, and with a poochie sound, it pierced Luo Xian's abdomen. Suddenly, a wave of pain hit Luo Xian, and he couldn't help but scream miserably. Is it very painful? That's not all. Duo La's smile was very charming, but it was also a charm that made people fearful. With a light shake of his palm, the Fergus spear twisted and turned in Luo Xian's abdomen. The tip of the spear instantly pierced through Luo Xian's abdomen. When the spear was pulled out, blood splattered everywhere. Poor Luo Xian, Su Muyun's adopted son, knelt on the ground just like that. Luo Xian had died in battle. Dora rushed forward like a shadow and quickly pressed Luo Xian to the ground. Her claws tore through Luo Xian's breastplate and armor like claws. A look of greed appeared on Dora's face as she laughed maniacally. She stabbed her hand into Luo Xian's still warm chest and dug out her heart. Her expression became even more bloodthirsty as she gently bit the warm heart and chewed it. Strands of divine power flowed from Luo Xian's body into Dora's black wings. She was actually absorbing the remaining divine power in Luo Xian's body. Luo Fei couldn't help but frown. What kind of existence was this woman who slept with him every day? Was she an angel or a demon? At this moment, Luo Fei was confused. So much so that even the experienced soldiers of Long Ji's army could not bear to watch anymore. Although Luo Xian was their mortal enemy, but to see him fall into such a state made them unable to accept it. Gotcha! Dora threw away the half-eaten heart. Her body was full of energy. She used her dagger to chop off Luo Xian's head and held it in her hand. She licked the blood at the corner of her mouth and said, "Tastes good. Commander Fang Lan, I have helped you kill Luo Xian. Now can we go and take the Muyu city?" Fang Lan nodded and smiled. "All right, thank you Miss Dora for your help." Outside the valley, the 30,000 Steel Blade army soldiers were engaged in a bloody battle, but the outcome was clear. They were surrounded by the 70,000 steel cavalry of the Long Ji army, and no matter what, they could not win. No one knew who shouted, but in the blink of an eye, the Steel Blade army soldiers started to retreat. If their commander died, it would be meaningless for them to die here. Don't chase. Looking at the scattered Steel Blade army soldiers, Fang Lan ordered, "Taking the Muyu city is more important. These defeated soldiers are no longer a threat. Everyone, advance at full speed. Take the Muyu city before midnight." Night fell. Torches were lit on the city walls. Su Zhangyan frowned as he looked outside the city. There was still no news. His heart was getting more and more uneasy. Dong, dong, thong. Suddenly, there was the sound of war drums in the distance. The torches were lit up. It was the sound of the war drums of the Tianji Empire. It seemed everything was clear. "Duke Xian, have you died for your country?" Su Zhangyan raised his head and laughed. He laughed so hard that tears flowed down his face. Why did a person like you have such a tragic ending?" The generals on the city walls were panicking. A captaincy asked anxiously, "Deputy Commander, what should we do? The Long Ji army and the wolf soldiers have returned. What else can we do?" Su Zhangyan raised his long sword and yelled, "Brothers, we are all soldiers of the Empire of Great Qin. We eat the food given to us by the people of Great Qin. What we use and wear are all given to us by the people. The bandits are killing and humiliating our families and compatriots. What should we do?" Everyone raised their swords and said, "Fight to the end." Yes, fight to the end. Prepare to defend the city. Archers and crossbowmen, get into position. The city was crowded with people, and the soldiers began to take their positions. A new round of defending the city was imminent. After 3 days of defending the city, they had almost used up all the magic crystal cannons. They only launched an attack every few minutes, but most of them were blocked by the Dragon Imperial battle wheel. The archers all pulled their bows, and the bowstrings made a squeaking sound. Shoot! The arrows fell like rain and fell among the people holding black shields under the city walls. However, at this moment, a graceful figure slowly approached the city wall. It was a powerhouse dressed in an angel's attire. A pair of black wings spread out from her back, and there was a faint smile on her face as she looked at the group of archers on the city wall. When the arrows fell, they were all repelled by a golden wall of light a meter away from her body. Moreover, she was holding a human head in her hand. The face could be seen in the light of the fire. It's Duke Exen. Duke Exen died in the battle. Oh my God, Duke Exen was killed by her. Kill her. Someone kill her for me. A captaincy on the city walls shouted with a trembling voice. Hundreds of arrows were aimed at her at the same time, and they shot out with all their might. Shooting at such a close distance was even more destructive. The arrows continuously splashed against the wall of light, creating small ripples. The light was extremely bright, but she revealed a smile, a rather sinister smile. Golden energy surged, and she screamed crazily as if she had fallen into darkness. The power of light rippled out, engulfing the entire city gate. Everyone was forced to close their eyes, and when they opened their eyes again, they were stunned. The two wings on the young girl's back had suddenly turned into four. The four black wings slowly swayed, symbolizing power, but also symbolizing death. Oh my God! Duo Li was dumbfounded. Luo Fei frowned. She broke through to become a four-winged angel without the blessing? What did Dora go through to give her such an ability? At this time, Duo La raised the bottom spear, and a golden ripple bloomed on the tip of the spear with a ding sound. The spear also gently stabbed forward. When it reached its limit, there was a sudden boom, and a huge golden power of light swept half of the city gates like a monstrous wave. Boom! The wave of air smashed the iron gate and half of the city gates, and the front became a void. No one knew how many people died under Duo La's attack, but one thing was for sure. The Muyu city, which was known to be invincible and one of the 7 famous cities, had fallen. Duo La walked into the city gate step by step, and a golden ripple appeared under her feet. She raised her head, and a pair of faint blood-red eyes were like beautiful gems on her fair face. Her voice was very soft, but it went straight to the heart. Those who resist will die, and those who surrender will live. On the city wall, the group of Steel Blade Army was stunned. The dignified Mu city had fallen just because of a woman? However, under Duo La's gaze, many people could not hold their weapons anymore. Ding. Spears, swords, and longbows fell to the ground. Many of the Steel Blade Army had already knelt on the ground. They had given up resisting and decided to surrender to the enemy. What about you? Duo La's figure slowly flew up, and she looked indifferently at the highest commander of the city, Su Zhangyan, the last commander of the Su family. Plop. Su Zhangyan gently knelt on the ground. He could not resist this irresistible power, and the fear of death lingered in his heart. At this moment, he was no longer thinking about dying for the country, but about his children and beloved wife. If he died for the country, perhaps his name would appear on the nation-suppressing monument, but what about his wife and children? He was greedy for the warm embrace of his wife, greedy for the satisfaction of having his children around him. He was afraid of death, so he chose to surrender. Okay, Duo La smiled slightly. That's good. Outside the city, the people of the Longji army continuously entered the city, accepting the surrender of the tens of thousands of Steel Blade Army soldiers. No one had thought that this would be the result. The main force of the empire, the Steel Blade Army, would be defeated so thoroughly. The defeat of the Steel Blade Army meant that the entire Cloud Province had fallen. After the defeat of the Steel Blade Army, no one could stop the Longji army. After midnight, Lin Tongtian and Fong Lan discussed a counterattack plan. They would send out 100,000 soldiers to attack Feng Jixing's army. Among them, 50,000 wolf soldiers and 50,000 Longji army would be led by Lin Tongtian, one of the 3 dragon riders of the empire. Duo La also agreed to go with them. After all, their opponent was Feng Jixing, and he would not be as easy to deal with as Luo Exin. The next day, the news reached Wolf Subduing Pass. Luo Exin died in battle. Feng Jixing stood on the cold city wall, looking in the direction of Muyu City. His expression was very calm, as if he had already expected it. The last fief of Duke Muyun has also been lost. Your Highness, what should we do? The Longji army will reach us in a day. Zhang Wei was a little anxious. Feng Jixing looked at Luo Yu. What do you think we can do now? Luo Yu nodded, and after thinking for a while, she said, we only have two choices now. One is to retreat to the south, use the speed of the cavalry to avoid the pursuit of the Longji army, escape to the Cloud Ridge, and guard there to prevent the Longji army from continuing to invade the south. The second choice is to advance to the north, enter the Eight Wastelands, completely destroy the northern desert wolf tribe, and then kill their way to the Tongtian Gorge to meet up with Qian Feng's army. Retreat to the south. Feng Jixing said resolutely. We cannot destroy the northern desert, but we cannot lose the Heaven's Pivot province. Yes. Chapter 863. In the secret chamber, the candlelight flickered as if it was being attacked by a subtle force. It was even shaking violently, as if it was going to be extinguished at any time. The entire secret chamber was made of black stones. It was empty except for a stone bed in the corner, and the person sitting on the stone bed was Lin Muyu. Her body was glowing with a faint golden light, and the light was getting thicker and thicker, as if a great power was about to burst out of her. His face was covered with sweat and his body was trembling. The golden wheel tower in his Ihai was getting taller and taller. It was spinning at a high speed and divine power was enshrouding it. The entire tower was like a huge container that was slowly filtering the divine power of the Supreme Being. After the divine power was refined by the container, it was turned into pure elephant divine power. It flowed through the bottom of the tower and seeped into his meridians. It was then sent to every part of his body. Wang. His palm suddenly lit up and a strand of elephant divine power grew out like a sprout. It grew bigger and bigger and the light became stronger. In a blink of an eye, it turned into an elephant wheel. Then, a second golden elephant wheel appeared. Lin Muyu's gaze became more penetrating as if he could see through everything in the world. The armor around his body fluttered even though there was no wind, and a powerful aura spread out. He gathered his strength and continued to activate the divine power. Finally, another elephant wheel was formed in his palm. This was the third one. Stepping into the second stage, 10 elephant punishing heavens would require the condensation of 10 elephant wheels. When the 10 elephant wheels combine into one, it would be the domineering move of 10 elephant punishing heavens. However, Lin Muyu was still far from that. She could only condense 3 elephant wheels, so the power she could unleash was only the first stage, 1 elephant white earth. Phew! He took a deep breath and dispersed the divine power in his body. He looked to the side and saw a total of 3 demon spirit stones. He did not expect that he had refined 3 demon spirit stones in just a few days. It was no wonder that the divine power in his body was getting stronger. He shouted softly and the power in his meridians boiled. Rays of golden light turned into waves and circulated in his palm. There were a total of 29 waves. Unknowingly, he was already close to the divine king realm. He only needed a small leap to reach it. He was slightly happy. He raised his hand and opened the stone door. He saw that Bai Yin and the other royal guards were already dozing off. What time is it? He asked. It's almost dawn, Your Highness, Bai Yin said as he rubbed his sleepy eyes. Lin Muyu strode towards the direction of the Stronghold's conference hall. Are Xiao Shi and Sister Chu Yao asleep? I don't know. Any news from Yunzhong province? The information is in the hands of the officials of the Imperial Decree Office. We are here accompanying His Highness, so we don't know. Come with me. Yes. Outside the conference hall, there was a forest of armored soldiers. Ever since Bai Minghuan almost succeeded in assassinating Feng Jixing, every important general and official had many guards around them. Although they might not be of much use, they could still make people feel more at ease. The eastern sky was already turning bright. The conference hall was brightly lit. From afar, Tang Xiaoxi's gentle and beautiful figure could be seen leaning against a chair, her hand holding a pen dipped in ink. In front of her was a large pile of documents that had been reviewed. Ever since Lin Muyu went into closed-door cultivation, the handling of the empire's matters, big or small, had fallen onto the shoulders of Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yan. Lin Muyu walked up and held her shoulder lovingly. Go back to your room to sleep? Woo! Tang Xiaoxi slowly opened her eyes, and a faint golden divine power flashed through her eyes. She suddenly became spirited and said with a smile, No need, I have already slept late. Mu, have you finished your seclusion again? I was worried about the things outside, so I came out to see how the war in Yunzhong province is going. Has there been any news? Tang Xiaoxi bit her red lips and hesitated to speak. How is it? Lin Muyu was a little anxious. Northern Duke Luo Exin died in battle. Last night's letter, Commander Feng Jixing could not save him, and Muyu City has also been breached. Now at this time, General Feng should be leading his troops to avoid the pursuit of Long Ji's army and return to Tianshu province to guard the sluice gate in Yunzhong. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were red as she said, Mu, don't be agitated. Yunzhong province has been lost, but we can take it back in the future. Oh, Lin Muyu sat on the chair beside Tang Xiaoxi in a daze. She placed her hands on the table and only felt that her mind was in a mess. The situation was getting out of her control. The fall of Muyu City meant that the entire 14 provinces in Yunzhong had been handed over to the Tianji Empire. Countless fertile lands and trade were given to the Tianji Empire, which was equivalent to giving them a foothold in Shattered Cauldron World. How is the situation of the troops stationed at the sluice gate in Yunzhong? He asked. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. Generally, there are only 7,000 to 8,000 people guarding, but the sluice gate in Yunzhong is adjacent to the ancient road in Yunzhong. It itself is a huge fortress. The Yunling separates Yunzhong province and Tianshu province, and the sluice gate in Yunzhong is the only passage. As long as Feng Jixing guards the sluice gate in Yunzhong, even if Long Ji has millions of troops, they may not be able to kill their way in. Yunzhong Sluice. Yes, the sluice gate in Yunzhong. Tang Xiaoxi blinked her eyes intelligently and said, This sluice gate in Yunzhong was rebuilt 20 years ago. At that time, Su Muyun already had 400,000 troops, and the sluice gate in Yunzhong was built under the orders of His Majesty Qin Jin. The sluice was built in the fortress in Yunzhong, and it was this fortress that guarded the 400,000 troops in Yunzhong province, making them unable to act blindly without thinking. Thinking about it now, His Majesty Qin Jin is really a wise ruler, and seems to be able to see through the things that will happen many years later. Lin Muyu asked again, Did you Shu explain how Muyu City fell into enemy hands? Who killed Luo Exin? He is Xiao Yin's cousin, and we need to understand this matter clearly. There are not many words in the book, but it said that Luo Exin was killed by a battle angel called Dora. Battle angel? Yes, the Western Divine Realm banished 10 angels to the banished land. After that, these 10 angels, who were banished to the Divine Realm, came to the human world to help the celestial pole continent deal with us. This Dora's strength is ranked second among the 10 angels. It is said that the first is even more powerful, and her name is Xi'in. Xin. Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said, It's getting more and more complicated. Is there any news from Lingnan? Did the Blackstone Empire continue to attack? Also, is there any news from Mingshan province? Has Xiangyu arrived at Shangyang City? Not for the time being. We are too far away from Lingnan, and there is still the Qinling Mountains in the middle. Moreover, I suspect that our messenger bird might have been hunted down and killed by the Blackstone Empire's soldiers in Lingkong province, so the news won't be able to reach us. Let's hope that Su Jiantao and Xiangyu can work together to defend Lingnan. Lin Muyu let out a light breath, feeling as if there was a large stone pressing down on her heart. If Lingnan also fell, then more than half of the empire's 13 provinces would fall. If that was really the case, she would have let down Qin Yin in this life, and let down Qin Jin in death. The promise she had made in the past would probably become an illusion, a dream in the void. After a while, he asked, How is the situation in the north? North? Tang Xiaoxi smiled lightly, It's relatively stable. Our spies have reported that Bai Minghuan has already restored Gong Shangming's position as the military advisor. As for Zhou Xinyao, he failed in his command and was exiled to the rear by Bai Minghuan for being an armchair strategist. After Gong Shangming regained control, he began to mobilize the manpower and resources in Tongtian province, mining the mountains as if he wants to build a few fortresses to face our steel walls. Build fortresses? Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Gong Shangming is indeed a smart guy. He knows that the north of the Luo River estuary is a flat land with no obstacles to defend. As long as we send out our troops, there will be no obstacles. So he wants to build fortresses out of thin air. If not, they will always be passive and can only wait for our troops to break through. Yes, they have mobilized at least 300,000 people from the 13 provinces of Tongtian province to build fortresses in the north of the Luo River estuary. They are also opening up wastelands, farming, and grazing. It is said that they are also digging ditches to water the fields. They are completely treating Tongtian province as their own. Lin Muyu smiled. In your dreams, right? Is there any news about the Tongtian Gorge? How is Qianfeng's army? Has it been attacked by the Tianji Empire? Yes, 5 days ago, Bai Minghuan sent an army of 70,000 people with 30 dragon knights to attack the Tongtian Gorge. The result is still unknown, and I don't know if Qianfeng can stop them. He only has 20 or 30,000 soldiers. Qianfeng, the demons. Lin Muyu stood up and gently stroked the map behind her with her finger. The Tongtian Gorge was only as big as a fist on the map, but in Lin Muyu's mind, it was infinitely magnified. Bai Minghuan's intention was very simple. The Flowing Spirit Army was stationed in Tongtian province, which was between Lingdong province and the Tongtian Gorge. They had to settle down first before they could concentrate on dealing with the main force of the Qin Empire in Lingdong province. Once Qianfeng was defeated, Bai Minghuan would be able to connect with the Flowing Spirit Army in Tongtian province and the 8 wastelands. But as long as Qianfeng was not defeated, the tens of thousands of demon troops in the Tongtian Gorge would be like a wedge that would divide the forces of the Tianji Empire in the north. Therefore, Qianfeng must not be defeated. If Qianfeng was defeated, the Qin Empire would lose half of its power. Send out the Eagle Scouts. I want to send a gift to Qianfeng. Lin Muyu said softly. Oh, someone call Prince Zhongyin. Very quickly, Lin Muyu handed over a spatial bag filled with items to Qin Yan, and Qin Yan went to gather the Eagle Scouts. There were 3 types of soldiers that the Empire used as scouts. The first was the messenger bird, but it had to be a signal that had gone through strict training, and the conditions were rather harsh. The second was the light cavalry, and the third was the Eagle Scouts. They domesticated giant eagles and chose soldiers with slightly thin physiques to ride on. This way, they would be able to achieve the greatest scouting ability. As for things like delivering items, naturally, the Eagle Scouts would be responsible for it. Right at this moment, a strange cry suddenly came from the sky to the north of the meeting hall. It was the roar of a giant dragon. What? Lin Muyu's gaze turned cold as she looked towards the north. Qin Yan rubbed his nose and said with a smile, "It's already a common occurrence. Every day, there would be dragon riders spying and checking on our military situation 10 li away from the steel protective wall. There would be a few batches every day. Do they still think that they can come and go as they please?" Lin Muyu's eyes were filled with dense hatred as she said, "I'll be right back. Sister Chu Yao, prepare breakfast. Wait for me to eat together." Qin Yan. Chapter 864. In the sky above the Tianqiong snow mountain, the cold wind was howling. This was a height that mortals could not reach, but there was a kind of creature that could, and that was the dragon. Amidst the fierce wind, 2 huge figures flew across the sky one after another. They were the 2 dragon knights of the Tianji Empire, Su Xiao and Wang Hu. Su Xiao was the dragon knight general, with a cultivation of level 30 heavenly abode. He was only 22 years old, and he was the youngest immortal king in the entire Tianji Empire. Behind him was the brilliant Su family. As for Wang Hu, he was a commoner, nearly 30 years old, with a cultivation of level 18 heavenly abode. Swoosh, swoosh, in the whistling sound, the two giant dragons rushed out of the curtain of snow together, leaving a long trail of wind and snow behind them. In front of them was the rising sun. The Tianxiong snow mountain area and the periphery were two completely different worlds. From afar, the steel wall looked like a long black dragon winding on the ground. Wang Hu could not help but sigh with emotion. He said, "Lord Su Xiao, you see, the Qin Empire is indeed full of capable people. Such a marvelous and unprecedented steel wall is a wonder." Su Xiao smiled disapprovingly. "A pack of wolves is good at attacking, while a flock of sheep is good at defending. No matter how strong the steel wall is, it cannot stop the sharp sword of the Tianji Empire. The people of the Qin family are just a flock of lambs waiting to be slaughtered. You see, so many days have passed, and not a single one of them dares to come out of the steel wall. What a bunch of trash. As long as we regroup, we can destroy all the Qin army behind the wall in one go." "Yes, Lord Su Xiao is right." Wang Hu's eyes flickered with hope. He said, "Our Liuji army has been attacking and conquering. If we can also conquer Lingdong province, the martial Saint Emperor will probably issue an imperial edict to reward the frontline soldiers. With Lord Su Xiao's contributions, you will at least be a first-class noble when you return to the empire. Humph, the whole family will be proud of you, Lord." Su Xiao pulled the reins of the giant dragon and sneered. "Maybe. The old man in my family is very pedantic. He was against me joining the expedition. Let's see what he will say when I go back." "Ha, yes." Amidst their laughter, the space in front of them suddenly became chaotic. Strands of stray energy rushed in all directions, and the sound of pa-pa-pa-pa did not stop. A purple light flashed, and a young general holding a long sword appeared. He wore 3 golden stars on his collar, and a purple flower pattern was engraved on his chest. It was Lin Muyu. "You?" Su Xiao was slightly startled, and his heart could not help but tremble. He forced himself to calm down and said, "You are the Qin Empire's queen, Lin Muyu?" Lin Muyu unsheathed her ice essence sword with a bright smile on her face. "What can I do for you?" Su Xiao also raised his dragon spear, lightning flickered. He actually cultivated the extremely difficult to control lightning laws. Wang Hu unsheathed his dragon sword and was taken aback. "Lin Muyu, how dare you? Are you thinking of challenging 2 dragon knights by yourself? Our Lord Su Xiao is a divine king. You are courting death." Lin Muyu squinted her eyes and said with a smile, "I can see that you are just a divine king who has just stepped into the 30th level of Grotto Heaven. Do you really think the territory of the Qin Empire is your own? Do you really think you can come and go as you please? Today, I am afraid that neither of you can leave." Su Xiao felt the terrifying pressure from Lin Muyu and hurriedly spun his dragon spear. Crackling sounds came from behind him, which was the prelude to the opening of the space crack. But who would have thought that Lin Muyu saw it, and the corner of her mouth suddenly raised slightly. With a shout, the wind and clouds surged around, and the buzzing sounds were endless. As Lin Muyu raised her palm, a huge wind pillar swept around. Under the rapid rotation of the wind pillar, the space force field instantly began to distort. Even Su Xiao could no longer feel the shattering power of the 4-dimensional space. "Heaven and earth, listen to my command." The 8 syllables was the foundation of the formless elephant technique. Every time the formless elephant technique was activated, one must chant the 8 syllables mantra. Otherwise, it would be difficult to control the mighty divine power. Cutting through space failed. Su Xiao's face turned even uglier in the blink of an eye. The natural aura of Lin Muyu in front of him was not something that an ultimate god should have. Even a divine king would not have such confidence and calmness. Where the sword flashed, Lin Muyu's figure had already disappeared. The next moment when she appeared, a ball of purple flame had condensed on the blade of her sword. It was the effect of the purple sun falling to the earth attack. She directly attacked Su Xiao's dragon spear. As long as she could get rid of him first, The other Dragon Knight would obviously not be a problem. Come on. Su Xiao was wild and bloodthirsty by nature. He had never been afraid of war. The lightning on the dragon's spear soared into the sky, and he suddenly stabbed it towards the ice essence sword's blade. Bang! Lightning and flames splashed in all directions. Lin Muyu's arm was slightly numb from the impact, but Su Xiao was in a worse state. The dragon spear almost flew out of his hand. Was this kid still a ultimate god? The strength of his divine power was at least 50% stronger than his divine king level. It was obvious that the supreme divine power derived from Lin Muyu's sovereign godhead could increase the strength of her divine power by at least 30%. Moreover, she had summoned the 7 luminaries' celestial sword martial soul to enhance the sword's strength by another 20%. It was expected that she could completely suppress Su Xiao's strength. The two immediately separated as soon as they collided. The surging light in the air was endless. Su Xiao looked up at his strong opponent with a sinister smile. Interesting. Come on, let me see how strong you, the so-called Qin Empire's #1 god, are. He quickly circulated his divine power and used almost all of his divine power on the dragon spear. Even the purple-scaled lightning dragon under him could not take it anymore. It raised its head and let out a cry of pain. Its mouth was filled with lightning. Su Xiao knew something was wrong. He was going to fight with all his might. Moreover, Su Xiao's body was surrounded by a golden protective wall. This person actually comprehended the divine wall. He was quite lucky. Lin Muyu raised her hand and sheathed her sword. She put her palms together and faced Su Xiao. With a low roar, the surrounding space distorted again. The invisible domain power controlled everything around them. The spirit wheel tower in her E-high spun rapidly. There was a buzzing sound in her palms. An elephant wheel with a radius of about 2 meters quickly appeared in her palms. It rotated slowly with great momentum. Buzz! The earth turned pale in the blink of an eye. Time seemed to have frozen. At this moment, Su Xiao's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. He had completely given up. The aura that Lin Muyu had unleashed was not something that he could withstand. In fact, he even wanted to submit to her. No, it was hard to imagine what kind of power could make a divine king begged for mercy. However, Lin Muyu's attack did not stop at all. The huge elephant will swept across, bringing with it a puff of blood and the cry of the giant dragon. Boom! An elephant turned white. This was the first time Lin Muyu had used the invisible elephant art. Blood floated in the air. Su Xiao's body and the giant dragon fell down together. Blood flowed from his mouth and nose. All the meridians in his body were rapidly ruptured. In the next second, with a boom, the man and the dragon turned into dust in the air. Even the defense of the divine wall could not save his life. So strong. Lin Muyu stood in the air. She could not help but be shocked. This invisible elephant art was indeed a power that did not belong to the 3 realms. Such a strong destructive power. It was a level higher than the stellar art and 7 luminaries. Not far away, Wang, whose hand holding the dragon sword, had already begun to tremble. However, he could not escape. Within the invisible elephant art's domain, the force field was completely destroyed. The power of breaking through the void was ineffective. Unless one's power was above Lin Muyu's, one could only obediently accept death. Can you not kill me? Wang, whose voice trembled slightly. Even if you want to show off to Marshal Dark North, someone has to send the message, right? Lin Muyu's voice was very calm. She said, "There's no need to send the message. The dragon riders have been reduced. It's the same as sending the message to Baiming Huan. Do you want me to do it or do it yourself?" As she spoke, Lin Muyu looked at him quietly. Her eyes shone with a golden luster. The domain power of the invisible elephant art spread out again, making people feel unconsciously suffocated. "I can't take it anymore." Wang, whose voice trembled slightly. He pulled out his sword and slashed it across his neck. Blood splattered everywhere. His throat moved slightly, and his life force quickly disappeared. What kind of power could force a Saint Martial Venerable to commit suicide? Lin Muyu gently raised her hand and sucked out Wang Hu's godhead. Then she found Su Zhao's godhead. Both of them were mortals. It was a little disappointing, but it was still not bad. Roar! Wang Hu's mount was a fire dragon. It roared at Lin Muyu. Its neck was enshrouded in flames. It was ready to go. Do you want to die? Lin Muyu's gaze was like a sword as he stared at it. Although he could not speak the dragon language, this fire dragon could understand the human language and could also feel the overwhelming pressure. In an instant, the fire dragon whimpered and its gaze softened. Lin Muyu turned around and rode on the dragon's back. He grabbed the reins and shouted, "Let's go, from now on, you're going to have a new master." The golden contract on the fire dragon's head quickly disintegrated. Under the protection of Lin Muyu's supreme divine power, it successfully broke the master-servant contract. On the steel wall, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp were dumbfounded as they watched a huge figure approaching from afar. Finally, someone shouted, "Be careful, it's a dragon knight. Their dragon knight is here again. Prepare the magic crystal cannon. Prepare the white drill arrows." However, at this moment, Sidusen, who was in charge of guarding the city, narrowed his eyes and said, "Be on alert. The person riding on the dragon's back is Her Highness Yu. No one is allowed to shoot. Otherwise, you will be killed." Whoosh! The fire dragon glided over the city wall. Everyone could see clearly that the person riding on the dragon's back was none other than Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu looked back and smiled. "Generalson, do you want to be a dragon knight? Follow me if you do." Without saying a word, Sidusen sheathed his sword, put his hands behind his back, and followed along with the wind. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.